Because really, chaotic academia is about just living your personal syllabus and integrating it into your life without being a disruption to your life. Hi friends, what's up? Long time no see. You'll notice I've been gone for a little bit after my latest video, which, thank you for all the love on, by the way. I was really nervous putting that up because I haven't really done any video like it, and I was really nervous about being able to efficiently express my thoughts without coming across the wrong way. But reading all of the responses, reading the love on it, lets me know that I hit the mark in the way that I wanted, and it's really been heartwarming to see the way that people can relate to it or people are taking it to heart. Makes me feel good. You boost my ego just a little bit. That being said, I have fallen into the trap of, oh no, I had a video that was so successful, what do I do now? Because if you're here from that video, if you're new to the channel and you're here from that video, welcome. I do not plan on doing videos like that for every other video that I'm going to do on this channel. That's not to say I won't ever do one again. I do plan on making more videos like that. It's just that that is not all the kinds of videos that I want to make. And if you're not new here, you know that. But I realized I should probably give a slow introduction for the rest of everyone, because I am still kind of in that thoughtful academic mood, but I also want to get back to a little bit of the fun stuff, because I do have some very intricate, I hope, scripted planned videos coming up. While I was stuck between the extremes of deciding whether I wanted to just do a silly, goofy video or try and do another commentary right out the gate, though maybe not as serious, I decided on a compromise. For this video, I decided to do a combination of the two. So it's going to be chill, it's going to be chaotic, but I am going to have commentary interspersed throughout. And what we're doing here is chaotic academia. Chaotic academia is close to my heart because I've always been a brainiac, I've always been a nerd, always been a bookworm. You're looking at valedictorian, baby. Look where it's gotten me. Yes, I was one of those former gifted, former accelerated kids, whatever, and then it wound up that I have severe ADHD. And because of that, traditional academic aesthetics haven't really appealed to me. But it's not just because of that. It's also because of a problem that a lot of people have noted and talked about, which is the privilege associated with achieving these aesthetics. To really achieve the type of aesthetic, like any kind of aesthetic, there is often a lot of a glass ceiling that is just classism. Going to Ivy Leagues, actually having the time of day to study as much as you want, doing absolutely nothing but reading poetry with your friends and somehow having the money for wine or all that kind of stuff. There is a lot of inherent privilege and a lot of whitewashing and all that, which much smarter people than me have talked about. So I'm going to tell you about something a lot more achievable and a lot more doable for the average person, at least in my perspective. So what is the solution? Because say you do want to get back into academia, say, like me, certain aesthetics of those aesthetics appeal to you. You want to learn more about what you're interested in. You do want to read some classic literature or find your own what you consider classics. Say you just want to learn a new language or learn a new skill, but you want to romanticize in a way that will incentivize you to keep up with it, that will make it a part of your lifestyle. But if you're a normal person and you're not rich and have a bunch of free time in your life, you probably think, gee, Shay, where do I get the time? How do I do this? Integrate it with my life. That's where chaotic academia comes in. Because it's not just about being unhinged in what you study. It's not just about being ADHD. It is less about structure and more about integration. And I actually came up with this new intro when I was filming an update for this vlog, and Smarticle Shay said something a lot smarter than I did, so I'm just going to give you the definition here. Because really, chaotic academia is about just living your personal syllabus and integrating it into your life without being a disruption to your life. Thank you, recently past Shay, but also future Shay in this vlog. I thought that was a rabbit. It was a leaf. Yeah, it's a leaf. But essentially, that's what we're going to be doing here in this vlog, in this little video. I'm just going to be living my life and working in my chaotic academia where I can, how I can, and taking you along with me. As I've warned you, there is going to be some commentary throughout with my thoughts on academia, with why I'm doing what I'm doing, some strategies that may help you, or just things that I'm interested in, whatever I'm studying, whatever I'm reading. And hopefully along the way, you'll be inspired either by things I'm doing or things that pop up in your mind related to maybe what I'm doing, for ways that'll help you integrate this stuff into your own life, into your own routines. Because everything that works for me is not going to work for you. Our lives are not the same. But the point of this is just to have fun, actually get myself into my chaotic academia lifestyle that I want to live. Because I've been really bad about prioritizing it in my life. So this is kind of a kick in the rear for me too, this video is. But mostly, I do just want to inspire people, to let people know that you can do it. You can't have it. The images that Tumblr and Pinterest and all that want to paint for you, as I'm pretty sure we're all learning, are so unrealistic and unattainable for the average person, and that's totally okay.
Cause I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. Do you know that? I'm not interested in playing your game. Fight me! If you're so sure that Quincy's are superior to Soul Reapers, then why don't you prove it right now? Or are you too afraid?
Good morning. I am in here picking out my books for the day, or whatever's calling to me, and I'm gonna go out on the porch and read a little bit while the sun is shining, because it's a mostly cloudy day today, but I can see the sun streaming in the windows. So we're gonna go read outside for a little bit. I did not get good sleep last night because I was up late reading, and then I just didn't fall asleep till about 3 a.m. for some reason, but it seems like nobody slept well last night. Like, I've had a couple of friends who have been like, yeah, man, I didn't sleep good either. But you know what? We persist. I'm gonna take it a little bit easy on myself today because I have a couple of library books that I'm still reading and enjoying, though I won't talk about them in this vlog because they're gonna be in another vlog on my other channel, but we got Dead Poet Society, The Kneebone Boy, Ferals, and The Book That Wouldn't Burn. I think those are some good ones to start our day. It's what I'm feeling. I'm going to pick out the bookmarks for those that don't have any. And we're going to go, and then I'm probably going to edit some of my writing.
Allow my laptop to not melt quite as much, so I brought this, which I thought you guys would appreciate. I brought the Atlantis book with me on vacation here so I could, you know, work through it, but this seems to actually be more useful. Why did I decide to do these?
What's up, punks? It is 1 p.m. and I have yet to eat because I've been reading and making bookish stuff. Tomorrow starts Full Moon Readathon, and you know what? I really thought. I have a lot of those, not a lot of them good. And that's why I try to learn as much knowledge as I can to try and make up for that gap. Doesn't always work. So I was going to try to include Full Moon Readathon in this video, not as like a focal point, because like I said, it's not a reading vlog. But I was going to include it in here, but I think I'm just going to make it its own vlog. This is still sort of a vlog, but we do our best here. I have been having a lot of executive dysfunction this morning. I think it's because I didn't know how I was going to structure this video, and so we're just winging it, brother. I did finish a book today. I did finish a book this morning because I locked in last night, and it's books that I'm like, you know what? I was going to wait and read them, but I decided to choose joy. Are they academic reads? No. They're romances. But I'm learning more about myself, and that's academic, too, because that is believe me, that's a task. What am I feeling today, though? I'm going to make some lunch, first of all, because I'm starving. I actually want to go on a deep dive and try and source out some references and literature that I probably can't get at my library, but I want to try and find some of my current interest literature, so Japanese mythology and folklore and just the samurai society in general. You can tell my brain's not working because I need food. This is what happens when you, that's the core of academia right there. Just being so locked in, you forget to eat. And you have to force yourself to drink water, or else your friends yell at you. Lucky if you have friends. What can they do, though? They're all online. Storm. Hi, handsome.
If there's one thing you might learn from my vlogs, it is that I absolutely love being outside. By the way, if you notice my voice sounds a little different, it's because I have a head cold while I'm recording this, but I need to get this video done, so we're all just gonna have to live with it, okay? And this is the best I've sounded in days. Anyway, it didn't always used to be this way. I spent a lot of time indoors, and granted, a lot of it was middle school, high school hormone stuff, but I have really, truly relished in the childlike wonder of being outside again, because I didn't really like staying inside until I got to middle school, and, you know, hormones for middle schoolers are so much fun. It's such a fun time in everyone's life. I, in my, especially the past few years, have gotten back into my childlike wonder of being outside, of just going outside and appreciating it, especially because of how these spaces are disappearing where I live. There are subdivisions going up everywhere. There's farmland being sold off at an alarming rate. And I realize how lucky and how privileged or blessed, however you want to put it, I am to have grown up in spaces like these and really want to appreciate them as much as I possibly can. However, it does get to the point sometimes where it's kind of detrimental to me, because I'm like, I need to be outside at all costs whenever the sun is out. I need to be out. I need to be lizarding. I need to just be appreciating it, taking in maximum touch grass time. And in a way, that's great, because you educate yourself about nature. You actually defrag your brain by just going outside and not thinking about anything. You just let your brain wander. You just let it appreciate things. Wow, voice crack. Okay. What am I, a teenage boy? And one thing that I've really taken into account, because sometimes I get overwhelmed with trying to take it all in, I've told myself that I just need to notice one thing. Every time I go outside, spend some time outside, I'm like, just notice one thing. And so I'm showing you some clips of those moments.
In his videos, Shane talks a lot about health. But there's a reason that I put health in quotes, because while Shane does talk a lot about health, he's not really talking about, like, actual health. He's more kind of talking about, like, the RFK Jr. scaremongering, you know, vaccines are giving you autism kind of health, which unfortunately ends up...
The past 2 days have been interesting. For the past 2 days, I've really been having decision paralysis, and a lot of ADHD is kicking my hiney about how to do this video, and also just in general at life. So I probably will include it, just use it as B-roll, because I haven't filmed that much, which, yay for me, unburdened, free. But now I actually want to get on the ball now that I have a sort of clearer idea about what the hell is going on. But today's a perfect day to begin it anyway, in earnest, because it's the day of full moon readathon, so I'm going to be doing a lot of reading today. I'm basically going to be sat. I'm going to be sat on my booty for a lot of the day. I've already made breakfast. I listened to 16 minutes of Babel on audiobook. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm going to sit here and eat my breakfast and watch Roseanne. Makes me smarter. Then I think I'm going to have a little mini study session, because I do want to do some studying today. I'm really feeling I'm jonesing to study some stuff. Today, I think I do want to try writing some essays or drafting some essays in between doing my study sessions. I think that'll be fun. It's also beautiful outside, though, so we might go back outside for a little bit, but I spent a lot of time outside yesterday, so I'll probably just go out for a few minutes today and try and spend a lot of my day inside today to get some studying and stuff done. One of the hardest things, I think, that no one talks to you about adult self-study is, and that takes a significant amount of time, even more so than the studying itself, is finding resources. Yes, a lot of us have access to the internet, and don't get me started on that whole tangent, but it's rather the time to find said resources. Now, if you're like me, or maybe you just know, there is Google Scholar, which often has a lot of free articles, or you're able to type in the keywords and it pulls up things from around the internet rather than just regular Google that is populated by ads and stuff like that. Is it perfect? No, but it is a good resource and a good tool to sort of weed out a bunch of the other stuff that isn't relevant. However, finding the relevant stuff can take up so much time, and if you only have a day off of work, or if you only have a couple of hours on your day off work, you might spend just those hours trying to gather things, either because it seems like there is a drought of information and you don't know where to look, or there's a flood and there's too many places to look. And then by the time that you're done gathering stuff, it's like, oh, well, I spent none of that studying, and then by the time that you're able to come back to it, you feel overwhelmed or kind of dejected, like, am I actually going to find anything on this? And I honestly think that that's a big reason that people get dissuaded from learning as adults, and just the energy exertion of it. Because there is something to be said for the energy exertion whenever you can't seem to find the resources on a niche subject. You spend those hours and you're like, man, I didn't find anything. What's the freaking point? That's how I felt about my thesis. Why would I read a 300-page book for nothing? Waste of time. So I get it. Now, what I am going to tell you is that all that searching, that all that time is worth it. I hope to give you some tips. I hope to give you some tricks. Even if that tip and trick is just to know that you're not alone in the struggle. And that, yes, sometimes it may be a struggle depending on how niche your subject is. But that's also kind of the exciting part, because typically if your resource is more hard to find, the more impassioned possibly that it is, because it's also going to take a giant nerd like you, said positively, to write on such a subject. Now, on the flip side, if you have a flood of information on a subject, like say you just want to learn a language, and you have a bunch of websites pulled up that have 100 phrases for beginners, or the alphabet, or the phonetic system, or what have you. Typically, there is so much of that out there. What I would say to you is pick a few to peruse your next available study time, or videos, or podcast, or whatever they may be, and have your notebook there, but don't feel the pressure to sit there and just absorb everything. Just allow yourself to go through those several resources. Say, I'm going to go through these 5 things today and just see how they hit me. Because there's nothing worse than finding a website that you're like, oh yeah, this is what I need, and going through and be like, what? Why are they speaking cheese? You know? Set your time aside, pick out a couple, and just casually go through them. See what sticks out to you, either good or bad. And then at the end of the session, and you can take notes as you go if you want, if something sticks out to you, whether good or bad. For example, maybe there's a website that has the basic grammatical structure and some helpful phrases to learn in a new language for you. But the way that they explain the grammatical rules makes absolutely no sense to you, yet the way that they break down the sentence structure of the phrases does. What you can do is just write down a couple of the examples of the sentence structure of the phrases, and you have those ready to go. And then just ignore the grammar rules there. Because if it's not going to help you, move on. You can always come back to it. And this way, it helps you weed out websites. You can even list it in your notebook as just whatever the website or whatever the resource is called, and be like, good for this, bad for this. That way, when you're going through the rest of the resources, you know to pick out what pieces of what you're missing. Another one of the most time-consuming but most worthwhile things that you will discover, that you should try to discover as an adult, or I don't know why I keep saying as an adult self-learner, this could be any age, but that is discovering what kind of learner you are. There is not enough time in our poor public school system, especially in America, to try and devote individual time to every individual learner to discover what learning method is best for them. You can do some of this work by just going through the resources, as I've said. Or if you're one of the people that, like me, your niche super subject doesn't have that many resources, just pick a broader topic that you're interested in, just for the practice of combing through a couple sources and learning what sticks out to you and what doesn't. And along the way of discovering those resources, you may find new ways to discover resources on your niche subject. I have spent most of my morning reading. I got on a call with a friend, and Nerdy Nat Reads, which you should go subscribe to her if you aren't already. And we're doing a watch through together of Batman and Trigun, so we did that, and then I hopped on Jan's Full Moon Readathon Sprints, and I just hung out with my friends a little bit, and I read some good chapters and some good books, and it's mostly been a relaxing, hyper-focus on reading day. I did start to get a little antsy, though. I needed a little bit of my zoomies, so I hopped on my walking pad while watching Milo Rossi, the second part of the Shane Vibes video. Then I got a call from my mom, which you're probably wondering why I look like Rudolph right now. I just found out that the last of my childhood dogs passed away today. So, time to lose myself in my studies. It sucks, but we had many good years with him, and he did develop some illnesses these past few months, where we knew even more than it was just a matter of time. So we're just happy that we got, every single day with him afterwards. Stop it, Shay. That's all I'm going to talk about it, because I don't want to trigger anything to anybody. So I'm just going to lose myself in my studies. But, what's a chaotic academia vlog without the typical tragedy to happen in dark academia? God. Way to commit to the bit, Hot Rod. I think I'm going to finish watching Milo's video because I am 17 minutes from finishing it. So I think I'm going to color while I do that. And before you're like, Shay, how's this chaotic academia? Have you ever watched a Milo video? I'm learning. And then after I color and finish this video, I might do some self-studying just to get my mind working on something else, and also just not wanting to read right now. And I promised some self-study, and I want to edit my writing tonight, and I want to draft an essay. We're gonna see where it goes! It's time to sit down and edit some of my work. I may type up some, but I think I'm mostly just gonna sit here and edit for a while. I see Mr. Stormy out through the blinds, so we'll say a hello to him too. There's the man of the hour. You can't see his head. The headless horseman guy. Just dance, it'll be okay. Just dance. I may not look like it, but I'm actually having a great time going through and editing my work. I am. Poking myself in the face with a pen. If you got something to say, write it out. It's good advice for everybody. I am making corrections in blue because red pen gives me anxiety, and also this is my work, so what I say goes. I am marking out spaces and mistakes with the blue pen, and then I'm going back in and correcting it or adding things with the black. Can I pick this up with the hand? This is what the hand on the top of the pen is for. Picking up your other pens when you drop them. No, it's not. But it can scrape it over to me. This is great for my spine, I'm sure. But I have a giant typewriter on my desk, and I don't want to put this in view where you can read my writing, because it's none of your business. That's not how you spell medical. That says medical. I know it doesn't seem like much, but I got 4 pages, front and back. Like, front, back, edited. So, not mad about it. That was a good... All the feathers are coming out. Ah! 7:30. So it's time to eat, because I don't like to eat. That's going to be the non-chaotic part of this, is because I can't eat late at night. It upsets my body. So we're going to go make some dumplings or something. I've eaten supper, and now I am sitting down to write a little bit of an essay or draft one for Substack. This is not a self-promo thing. It's just that that's where I'm posting this stuff. I'm kind of feeling like writing a little bit about nature. I feel like today was such a bust. I came out rip-roaring and ready to go with all this, and then I understand, like, I think y'all will be like, yeah, it's understandable that all of a sudden you're grieving. Wild how that works. But I've been putting off this video for so long, and I finally have the time and resources to dedicate to it, that I feel like I'm failing. And you know what failure does with academia? It's either a complete burnout tool, or it's an inspiration. So I'm going to try and use it as an inspiration and work alongside my grief respectfully. And I'm just going to throw it all. I'm just going to throw my back into it. I think I'm also just scared of this video being so super long. But it is what it is. I'm gonna sit here and write this essay, and then I may do a little bit of research. I kind of want to put a lecture on YouTube. I want to learn something. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll try and find something as I'm writing just to kind of listen to. I've had this interesting video essay. That's something that I want to say too. If you want to learn something, a good learning resource, it doesn't have to be something that is at academia accepted. Whatever you want to learn about, that's what you should consider your canon in your academia. If you want to learn about the cinematography of Gilmore Girls, if that's your thing, baby, go for it! The world is burning anyway! Find your joy! Learn about what makes you happy and what makes you tick. I'm on a kick of learning about women and their roles in mythology, specifically alongside demons. I'm a big demon girl. And so I want to find more about the interweaving of women and demons in mythology, or women's representation as monsters, but specifically more so as demons. And I kind of got into this with yokai and stuff like that. It's just something that fascinates me. But because of that, there's all these branches that come off of those things. You know, like there's the yokai themselves, there's women being represented in various mythologies. I'm just using Japanese mythology folklore as an example. There is yokai representation in media I could learn about. There's women being represented as goddesses in images, in modern movies, in movies from the 2000s. You can go as niche or as broad as you want. And this is the cool thing about not being bound to an actual academic structure, is that you can make a thesis for yourself without the pressure. I don't know if you know this. No one's going to stop you from writing your own essay about whatever the hell you want, or a thesis about whatever the hell you want. If you want to write a whole essay about how Scrappy-Doo is actually misunderstood and that he would body Freddy from Five Nights at Freddy's, go for it. As long as it interests you, as long as it makes you feel alive, as long as it sparks a little in your brain, that's what the point is. You'll find ways to apply it to things in your life. You'll find ways to connect it to other things. But just getting started, just following that little spark, that little interest, is probably the most important part. That feels good to talk about because I feel like I've done nothing today. So, for me, it's women and demons. Who's shocked when this bi disaster talks?
And so you see that in a way signaled by the conjoined profiles on this coin from the early 3rd century BCE, and you'll notice that Arsinoe II, the wife of Ptolemy II,
look, science.
It's about lunchtime now. I need to change out these clothes, but I have fortuitous news. I have been hyperfixating on writing. That has been my little chaotic morning. Obviously, there's not a bunch of B-roll for that because it's not very interesting, because why would you want to see me just sit there and... This morning, I was having my breakfast and sipping my coffee, and I just had a rogue thought, as I sometimes do, as I've mentioned about my interest in the intersection between women and monsterdom. And I had a thought where I was like, a lot of feminine monstrosity is represented in the physicality of monstrosity. Wow, I write better than I talk. Female monstrosity feels like it's often represented in physicality compared to masculine monstrosity. And then it just started kind of rolling from there, and I ended up writing a whole article about it, which I'm happy enough with. It was a fun morning ramble to get the thoughts out of my brain, and I've been thinking about it throughout the rest of the day. So that is something that I'm probably going to write a little bit more on and listen to some more lectures. I am a little bit peeved because I have not read anything, and I wanted to read a lot today, and I also want to go outside because I see that it's sunny. And I think I figured out part of what my problem is, why I feel so disconnected in this vlog, why I feel like I'm not doing as much as I should be, which that is the core of academia right there. Not doing enough. If you're not actively doing something, you're wasting your time. But yeah, I'm not too mad about it this morning. I'm mad about not reading as much because I have so many books I want to get to. I read to chapter 4 in Babel. Now I want to get to page 200 today, and I actually want to read a bunch in my library books. But for now, I am hungry, and I have a headache from writing so much, and if I'm gonna go out in the sun, I need to eat, because I don't want to go out in the sun with a headache. But I also might just turn into ash if I go in the sun, because it's like... making lunch. I have changed clothes and now I'm outside. I am currently cooking lunch. I am making some fries and I'm gonna have a hot dog. I don't know why I said it like that. That's gross. And I'm gonna sit out here and read Act Your Age, Eve Brown while that is cooking. Probably like for the next 15 minutes. And then I'm gonna go inside and make the most of the rest of my day. But I need to get this out of my system. I need to get my eyes off of screen. I got hyper fixated for like 2 more hours on little puzzle games and stuff like that. It would be a chaotic academia vlog if things didn't go to hell, you know? And I like to think that we got in hell by being distracted, by being a little bit executive dysfunction and stuff like that. And so now it's time to crawl our way out. We're not going to be like Dante and write fan fiction about it. Well, I might write fan fiction about demons, but not like that. So let's make the most of the rest of our day. Let's get some reading in. Let's get some learning in and do whatever the hell that we want. Someone wrote lousy merchant. I didn't annotate this. I bought this annotated. I love getting books that were either clearly niche, loved reading, or assigned reading for a class and finding that they're annotated. It makes me so happy. Also, sweet potato fries, slap. I'm not gonna lie, fam, it looks like rain. We might have to be like the chicks and get ready to run. Yo, there is a rainbow in my front yard. Are you serious? Oh my god, I gotta go find the end of it. Oh my god. Holy crap. Where even is the end of it? It's right there in the crow tree. I read a little bit and then I wrote some more essays about monsters and women. Again, who's shocked? I also didn't vlog last night because I got so into playing one of my little word search games that that's pretty much what I did before falling asleep. I did read a chapter in a bunch of different books though, so I know this vlog is so interesting. I'm so embodying chaotic academia by just not doing things. But nevertheless, we're gonna persist. Today, the plan is I have to work out. Is the bite mark coming back on my arm? I swear, bro. Something bit me like a couple weeks ago, and I went to the doctor because I thought it was a spider bite, the way it was spreading and stuff like that, and so I went to the doctor. The doctor literally came in and she looked at me like this. She was like, oh, not a great thing you love to hear from a doctor. And she was like, well, I can tell you it's definitely not a brown recluse. And I was like, yeah, I figured that because, like, thankfully, you know, with just soap and water and keeping it clean and stuff, like, it was spreading slowly, but it wasn't getting worse. And I said, yeah, the weird thing about it is, like, I didn't feel it. I was sitting on my couch, and all of a sudden my arm started itching, and so I started scratching, and I looked, and I was like, what is that? I didn't feel any pain or anything, so I don't know when it happened. All I know is when I found it and when it wasn't there the night before. The best that I can figure is that when I was crawling around in the field trying to fix a fence post, something was on my arm, like probably like a grass spider or something, and I scared it and it just kind of, you know, that's the best that I can figure. Because also, I'm not going to insert pictures, but it wasn't like 2 little tiny dots. It was like two big dots on my arm. Like, this son of a was big. Like, I should have felt it. And I said, that's the weird part, right? Is it's so big. And she said, yeah. She goes, that's definitely not a brown recluse, not just by the way it's acting, but the size of, you know, the bite marks. She goes, I don't know, tarantula? Again, not a great thing you want to hear from a doctor, but she took care of me, gave me the antihistamine or whatever cream that I needed, and it's looking a lot better. I may put some more on it. It may just be red because of sitting out in the sun yesterday, but there's a little chaos for your vlog. The rest of today, I'm gonna work out. I'm not going home to my parents. I just, after some talking to them and about the situation, think I'm gonna stay here and lose myself in my work, because that's what we do when tragedy occurs. But I think I'm gonna spend today really trying to learn and get back on my feet. I think the issue is that I don't really know how to get footage for a lot of this stuff, and so I feel like talking about it is just kind of the way to go, because what am I gonna do? Just put 5 minutes of me reading and just have that every 2 seconds in the vlog? That doesn't make much sense. But I feel like I'm really not being chaotic enough. I feel like I'm letting y'all down. But I mean, I guess also the point of this is just to show you how you can actually be chaotic in little ways that is attainable throughout your days, especially if you have a working job. Sometimes you just gotta find those little moments. Sometimes you don't get to be chaotic all day. Sometimes that chaoticism just is you reading a chapter in 6 different books in one night. These are just things that I do when I can, how I can, because that's what I'm trying to do, is just inspire you to find your own attainable ways to do these things, as long as you're following the spirit of it. Do whatever works for you. These are just how I do it. This is how we do it. And give you some inspiration. Or a headache. This paragraph right here, I think, pretty much darn well sums up a large part of what the draw for the aesthetic. God, I can't speak! This paragraph right here pretty well sums up, I think, what the draw is for the academia aesthetic, at least for a lot of people. The whole, college killed my love of individual learning because of all the forced stuff. And, I mean, you could say the same of high school and the general school system in general, but the draw of academia is to really dead poet society it, you know, like escape out of conformity and get back to the love of learning for the sake of learning, yet within the structure that expresses art and romanticism and all that crazy stuff, hopefully with some spooky vibes. And of course, college doesn't intend to destroy that stuff. In fact, like it says, college will also expose you to all manner of literature. Of course, we're talking about poetry here, but that can go for any subject in general. A lot of it will be transcendent, but a lot of it is also utter dreck that you probably couldn't care less about and will also feel like soul-sucking. That's not to say that a lot of professors aren't doing their best and that a lot of stuff isn't important, it just may not click with you. Good morning. I slept in this morning because it is Saturday morning and I needed the rest. But I got up and I made myself some French toast while listening to Babel. I'm not going to show you the French toast and eggs because, I don't know, I feel like footage of food, like, it looks better in person than it does on camera. So, suck it. But I'm going to eat my breakfast, I'm watching Roseanne, and then I'm going to get back to reading because there's another heat advisory out today. So, we're going to be academic and stay inside and get stuff done and be a hermit. As expected, I have spent most of the morning reading. What have I been reading? I read a chapter in The Newborn Boy, and I also, sadly, I think, I'm really still debating it, DNF, Bury My Heart at Chuck E. Cheese's. I am also still reading Stormfront, which I'm enjoying too. I think I'm about to put on the audiobook of Babel and sit here and color or do a puzzle. Oh, I also forgot to mention that I was searching for course listings on Georgetown's website earlier, looking at the course catalog to get some of the reading from syllabi that were on there and stuff that I'm interested in, which that's a pro tip. We were talking about Google Scholar and stuff like that, finding your hyperfixation, your hyperfocuses, or just anything you're interested in. A lot of times you don't have to be a student to go into the course catalog and look around. A lot of colleges just have them listed publicly, or they have the reading listed publicly. Some tips that my friends also gave me is if you live near a bookstore, if you live especially near a college bookstore, but also near a library or near some kind of higher education, a lot of the times around the start of a semester, you can go in there and find the reference books that are put either on hold or on a list for certain listings, for certain course listings and subjects and stuff like that. So that's also a good way to get introduced to academic text and stuff that you're interested in. And you can also just support your local library. And even if they don't have it there, you can always just ask a librarian. However, I do also kind of want to watch a lecture and color. Man, what to do. I think I'm going to finish that lecture I started the other day, actually, and color a couple of pages, or update my journals, because I haven't done that in a while. I'll do that, and I'll set up my new journal, and then that way I can turn on my audiobook, and then start deep diving into the articles and stuff that I've saved to start writing in my learning journals. Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Now we cooking with peanut oil, son!
Building it over the course of 45 years, and so they have to keep track of current events. And so you have a number of scenes from the Claudian and Neronian periods, a stylized stern of a ship, so land and sea imagery, which is another feature to which we'll return. And you get the women. Physical features are generally personified as male, although not subjugated cities or regions, those are personified as women.
I think it's time to take a few notes, actually. Something that I don't think that we really discuss in the academia spheres, or I just really haven't seen discussed pretty much nowhere in large. One of my favorite things about reading formally annotated books, especially, I don't have it within reach, but especially if you get a book that was like clearly assigned reading a nonfiction book, like the Society of Italian Renaissance that I was reading earlier in this vlog, when you get those, it is especially a gem if you can get one that is heavily annotated by someone who actually was a student, not just for a class, but someone you could tell was actually studying the subject, not just to pass a class, but maybe it was their major or something like that. The more detailed annotations and opinions, the better. Because once you own that, you get to read part of their story and their thoughts, and that's all cool and anthropological and all that kind of stuff. But it's even more fun to read and then potentially argue with them in the margins. Not that you'll ever see this person face to face, but it helps your critical thinking skills, your analysis skills, to look there and be like, is this person actually a genius or are they full of crap? That's how dissertations and articles are made, baby. It's just so much fun to do it on your own without a grade and just to speak with a like mind that you're like, yeah, we get this. We're not on the same. It's like that scene in The Mummy, essentially arguing with someone annotating in the margins where you understand the subject the same, but you have a different outlook on it or a different interpretation, is like that scene in The Mummy where they all dive off the boat and Benny's like, oh God, we have all the horses. And Rick says, Benny, you're on the wrong side of the river. That's essentially what that is, so it's very fun. For example, you want to know how much of a nerd I am. I don't know if I've already mentioned it in this vlog, but it's relevant now, so I will mention it now. Watching this professor seems like a very lovely, very knowledgeable individual. And this is not meant to be an argument or anything like that. Just because it doesn't have to be an argument as well. You can just be a debate. An argument sounds too cruel, too negative, but you can also just lively debate with people in the margins, not outright being like, you're an idiot, but also just, I didn't see it that way, and that's how our knowledge and perspective grow. So don't just go in with razors blading, okay? It's good to challenge each other and to be critical thinkers and to say, maybe not, and maybe I'm wrong. Nothing wrong with that. But this professor, like I said, seems lovely, seems very knowledgeable. I would love to have a conversation with him about a certain thing that I saw in this lecture where he was going over the depiction of women being deified in Roman Empire. That's what this whole lecture's about. But he was actually talking about when it started happening and the first woman to be deified in the Roman Empire. And he said, she's deified, you can tell she's wearing this head dressing. It's a specific type of head dressing that, again, I am blanking on, but I'll find a picture of it. And he said how they got that was looking from depictions of actual, how they actually depicted the goddesses in which they wear that same head dressing. But that's not the only place they got that idea from. They also got it from the depiction of sacrificial animals who were dressed up in that attire as being gift wrapped for the gods. And this professor, lovely professor, says, so whether it is a private woman, whether it's a deified woman, whether it's a goddess, whether it's a sacrificial animal, they are tied, like, this head dressing represents ties with sanctity. Respectfully, as a female, and I looked up into the invisible camera like I was on The Office, when he said whether it's a private individual, goddess, or sacrificial animal, that headdress represents a tie to sanctity, represents sanctity. Buddy, I'm pretty sure that's not all it represents. Just speaking as one of the private females, I see some connections. And I don't doubt that he would probably have some agreement with me, especially in the modern context. But see, it's stuff like that that you just have to listen and pay attention to that you don't necessarily think about whenever you may think about the subject. But then hearing someone speak this specific thing makes you think, what is my specific thought on that subject? And how can we talk about it? Go out there and find very niche subjects where people speak very nichely about it and then be very niche yourself. There's honestly nothing better than waking up and having a giant cup of coffee with a giant book that you're already loving to read and loving to annotate. I haven't done jack today. And you know what? That's fine, because I was home with the parents dealing with stuff, and then I came back here and I just spent most of the day cooking and reading. I'm this far in Babel. I'm flying through it. I'm like halfway through it now, 274 of 542. So almost literally just over the halfway point. That's pretty cool. I'm enjoying it so far. I want to finish Sky Day tonight, which is not part of this vlog, but I have such a feeling to want to hurry up and finish a bunch of books tonight because I'm so close to finishing a bunch of them. But I also feel like I need to take my eyes off of words, which sometimes you just gotta. You know, I want to do something physical while maybe listening to an audiobook. I'm thinking I'm either going to journal or annotate while reading or just kind of do a puzzle or something. I think I'm going to do a collage. I think I'm going to try and cut out some stuff in a collage, maybe while I listen to an audiobook or listen to a lecture. That sounds fun. I'm really excited for tomorrow because tomorrow I get to go to the library and I'm going to the student book sale, and my library is also having their annual Friends of the Library sale, so 2 sales in one go. Hell yeah. And I gotta turn in some of my books. I'm not gonna be checking any out. I will only be buying some if I come across any. I'm not gonna be checking any more out because I have too many on loan already and I want to get through everything that I have. I also think that I need to implement a library ban on myself to a certain extent, or a library dam. To a certain extent, maybe only check out 2 or 3 books at a time, because I typically have 2 or 3 books on my Libby as well, and I really need to start getting through the physical books that I have here at home to read. So instead of doing an outright ban, because we support your local library, right? Defend your local library. I want to keep checking out books, especially on Libby, because Libby just tends to have a wider array of choices than my actual local branch, but I still check out from both. I think I want to make a thing where I check out only 2 to 3 books on each platform at a time, and then, unless like holds or, you know, something come in, and then I have to read, because you know how some people do the 5, I have to read 5 of my books before I buy a book. Something like that for me, like I need to read 5 of my own books before I can go on a library binge or something like that. Moderation is not my style. One of my most chaotic but also helpful habits is if I get within 100 pages of finishing a book and it's not midnight or 1 a.m., I'm finishing that book that night. Now, if it gets about 12, 1 a.m., depends on how fast it reads, I might stay up and finish it. I've only ever met one other person who has this habit. So if that's a habit you have, let me know. I'd be very curious. I gotta finish this one. I'm hopefully... How many pages till I finish this one? 81. I got like 200 something pages in this, but it reads really, it's like a middle grade, I think. I need to start the Secret History tonight too, but I was waiting till I got further through Babel. I don't know, I feel like this is going to read really fast too. I would like to finish Hood Feminism, that way I can take it back to the library, but if I don't, it's not the biggest deal in the world. 2 other books that I would also like to finish tonight, but there's only so many hours in a day, and I don't want to stay up super late tonight because I do have to work out tomorrow, and we have some fun stuff planned for tomorrow. This one, The Kneebone Boy, and Stormfront, which I am enjoying so very much. But I'm going to talk about that in an actual reading vlog. You just need to know that I'm reading so much. If you're like, wow, Shay, that's a lot of books that you're currently reading, I didn't even show you half of them. I'm a mess. I'm sitting here, and it's nearly 10:30. I don't want to do a collage right now because I'm thinking about flipping through all this stuff and then having a bunch of little pieces scattered everywhere and making more of a mess, and that's going to make me very anxious. So I'm not going to start that tonight. We're not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to doodle tattoo designs while listening to an audiobook or reading a couple pages or listening to a lecture. I haven't quite decided yet, but doodling is a good way to relax my mind. That way we can get up early and do other stuff. Let's talk about tattoos. You want to talk about tattoos? I want to talk about tattoos. So one of the tattoos that I actually want to design myself in this little designing session, what is that? Hello? Is one of my favorite Shakespeare quotes, so it's very funny that I mentioned that Shakespeare quote, because I would get that somewhat tattooed, though there be madness, there be method in it or whatever. I would do that because I love that quote, and that very much encapsulates what it's like to be ADHD, I do think, in my humble opinion. A thing that I've noticed with a bunch of tattoos that I want is I'm a very much a words girl. In fact, one of my favorite movies, Eddie and the Cruisers, which, great movie. I should write an essay on Eddie and the Cruisers. I should, because that got me to read Rimbaud, my boy Remy Baguette Bod. There's a quote in there, words and music, man, and that's me, man. Words and music, man. But I've realized as I've gotten older and all the kinds of tattoos that I want, a lot of them are words or lyrics. However, I don't want to be covered with words all over my body. I don't think that there's enough space. I don't think that the script would look very good. I don't like that aesthetic of it. Now, will I get some quotes tattooed on me? Sure. But I have devised a method that I think works better. This especially goes for band-related tattoos, because in the metal and the rock scene, things change so quickly. You don't know who's being convicted, who's being assessed, who's being outed day by day. And there's nothing worse than getting a band tattoo when you have a certain band tattoo and then something, God forbid, happens and you have to walk around with that on you and be like, well, no, it was before. It was before. And it's like having Harry Potter tattoos, which if they got this before, leave people alone. Leave them alone. And everyone has the money for laser removal or for cover-ups. Leave people alone. That being said, though, to avoid that, and also to avoid the words thing, I've come up with a solution, which is to represent the word. Oh, Nat sent me a hug. I love you, Nat. Which is to represent the words with imagery. As a perfect example, I did this with my very first tattoo. Now, granted, it does have words on it, but it really encapsulates several tattoos that I wanted into one with imagery and just a few words. I'll put up a picture of it here, but this is my first tattoo. It says, "I didn't just live," which is a lyric from Beartooth's "I Was Alive." Then we have Unus Annus and the hourglass. I drew that. Not that exact design. I did the original sketch, then I sent it to my artist. She refined it in her style, and that's it. But why this is the perfect example, God forbid anything bad happen with Beartooth where someone doesn't want to be, we don't want to associate with Beartooth anymore, like Harry Potter, and someone sees those words, they could themselves just be words that could stand for the original meaning that I got from the song. Like, it doesn't have anything that directly ties back to a certain thing that could be ruined. You know what I mean? It has a secondary meaning that I can just explain it elsewise. Is it extra in several layers? Yes, but I think it's worth it. Also because it's fun coming up with artwork. And obviously that's not a concern for everything, but it's just become a really good tool and method for conserving space and also expressing creativity. The one that I'm going to try and come up with tonight is one of my favorite Shakespeare quotes. Don't ask me why, I love it. One of my favorite Shakespeare plays is Hamlet. I love Hamlet. I'm actually probably going to take it to the library and annotate it and stuff tomorrow. I love Hamlet. It just has this draw on me. I don't connect really with Ophelia, though. And I have looked all over the internet for Hamlet tattoo inspiration. The main ones that I find are holding Yorick, the hand holding the skull, the iconic Hamlet imagery that I think, if you know Hamlet, you associate that image with it. Or Ophelia, which is great. We love girl power. However, I don't want Ophelia because I've never really connected with her. Yay, girl! I mean, not yet. You know what I mean. Now, the hand holding York, possibly, but there's one phrase in Hamlet among many that when I think of Hamlet just sticks out so much to me. And so I think that's the one that I need to get. It's "the time is out of joint." And then, of course, the follow-up phrase of "cursed that I was ever born to set it right," or whatever. But mainly, "the time is out of joint," because it can represent that whole little stanza or whatever, right? So I want that represented. So I'm trying to find a way to doodle that to represent that in imagery instead of words. That way, when people are like, "What is that?" and be like, "Well, it's this," Not that I think Shakespeare is going to get canceled, but like I said, it's just a convenient tool and method for saving space instead of just all script all the time. Do I have any idea how to do this? Not really, because there's so many interpretations of "the time is out of joint." It basically means, if you're like, "Shay, what does that mean?" It means stuff's up. Stuff ain't right. Like, stuff's sus. The world has become sus. Things are just, something's not right here. My spidey senses are tingling. And then, of course, that "I was ever born to set it right." Like, you mean this has become my job? Helen from Drake and Josh, when she's like, "That is not my job." Well, Hamlet, it is his job. And curse that darn it, that he was ever born. Why me? Why me? Is what our little favorite emo Danish boy is saying. Do you think if you crack Hamlet open, he'd be full of cheese? And he's actually full of... I shouldn't say that, it's a spoiler, right? The play's like 600 years old. He's full of poison and swords. Full of poison and swords, like most of Shakespeare's characters. If there is one thing I want you to take away from this video, it is that Shakespeare is not boring. Whoever told you that did not teach you Shakespeare correctly. If you want to read a play where 30 people die, mostly at once, and someone gets fed their son in a pie, you should read Titus Andronicus. God, I love Shakespeare. But I think I'm gonna doodle that. And I'm gonna write some. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I will. This is my writing journal. I love writing so much. Writing's been my biggest hobby since I was able to hold a utensil to write with. I have always loved storytelling. I've always loved character creation. I am constantly thinking in writing. Shay, why don't you become a writer? Because I don't want to hate the thing that comes the most naturally to me. I don't want to have to rely on it for income and the hellscape that capitalism has become. It's that simple. I am constantly thinking of dialogue, of characters, of scenarios, of situations, of worlds, of stories, constantly. It's always just a step away in my brain in the silence when I have a moment to think to myself, fiction land, baby. Now, is that maybe an avoidance tactic brought on by years of subjected trauma that is some closed doors that I probably need to open in therapy? Yeah, probably. Find me a writer that isn't traumatized. I'll wait. But I've always loved writing, and I started writing I wrote my first story at 3 years old. I've mainly always written on my laptops ever since I got a laptop, ever since I got a computer. I had notebooks and stuff that I wrote in, but ever since I got a laptop, digitally is where I've pretty much always written. On my phone, on my notes app, on Discord channels, on Microsoft Word, on Notepad, blessed Notepad on Microsoft, my beloved. My beloved, my detested. But in this saturated digital age, the past year or so, I've been thinking to myself, I wish I had a more accessible, besides my phone, way to write down my inspiration, my stories, my scenes, and stuff that come to me in a way that feels more tangible. Because I've always loved writing physically, but my brain moves faster than my hand, which is why, like, writing, so digitally I can get it out much faster and I can actually follow the creative flow. But I miss having the tangible accessibility and undistractability that comes with pen and paper. And so I thought to myself, I'm going to invest in just a cheap writing journal. That way I can write stuff, and then I can transfer whatever I write here into digital later. I couldn't really find a journal that I wanted. I was just like, I don't know. But then my aunt came out of the blue and she was like, hey, I got this journal as like a freebie whenever I was ordering stuff online and I needed it to get free shipping or whatever, so I ordered it. But your cousin doesn't really want it. I don't really need it. Do you want it? Yeah, I do. So this is it. And I decorated it with a bunch of, and I'm going to regret using this word, swag. I made it really, really simple. I've got go away, I'm writing, short, sweet, to the point, just like me, except I am sour to a T. And then on the back, write the truest sentence that you know, which is one of my favorite Hemingway advice sentiments. This is my writing journal pencil. I will take no questions at this time. She lives there. When you open her up, this is the inside. I have decorated with a few stickers from the get-go, but otherwise it's just artifacts that I've just come across and added in over time. And I can't wait to see what it looks like when it's finally totally filled up, but this is what we have for now. Who is this? That's Sam from the Dirty Nil. Whenever I saw the Dirty Nil last time they were in Nashville, me and Sam started talking about Hemingway and Cormac McCarthy, and I was like, do you want some of my writing journal? And he was like, yeah. So, Sam, this one goes out to you. Sam is no longer in the Dirty Nil. He's doing his own thing, which is totally fine. But this is my relic of Sam. The sticker in the back is probably one of my favorites. It's Dear Slim, I wrote you, but you still ain't calling. It makes me laugh every time I see it. And then shipping stickers. Change of slight plans. When were y'all going to tell me that there was a heavy metal music studies journal? And when were y'all going to invite me? So I've been on a rabbit hole with that, because now I am filled with visceral rage that I was not made aware of this in college, even though they've been around since before I graduated high school. Metal music studies. I want to be published in here. So now, what we're going to do is we are going to brainstorm some essay topics for Substack, just so I can ride out into the void. The reason I want to include this as sort of a realistic, chaotic academia activity to do is because I do think that it is moderately accessible to do. Do you have to do it digitally? No. As long as you have a writing utensil and something to write on, you can write an essay. I think we're so inundated with the context of what essay usually means in school that it intimidates us in any other fashion to think of it outside of that usually very strict structural educational context. But it's really just blabbing. It's just blabbing. If you like yapping, you probably like blabbing. What is in my hair? Are you food? It's part of a flower or something. pencil shaving. That makes sense. If you are really interested in a topic, or if there's something that you know a lot about, or you're very interested in, I think essay writing is one of the most accessible and honestly doesn't have to be time-consuming activities that you can do whenever. Because unlike for school, you don't have to have it by a certain deadline unless you want to. Do you think that latest episode of a new TV show that you like sucked? Instead of ranting on Reddit, why don't you just write an essay to yourself? Just open up your notes on your Mac or on your Microsoft or on your phone or whatever and just type out why. But don't just rant. Well, start out ranting, because that is the best start to a good essay, honestly. It's just word vomiting. But then, throughout the days, like, maybe you only have time to ramble 2 or 3 paragraphs about, like, why this sucks. But then, over the next few days, whenever you get a few minutes, instead of scrolling on social media or whatever, go back to that rant and see if you can refine different points in it. Instead of just saying, this girl character annoyed me, maybe flesh out a few sentences. Why does she annoy you? Why do you think that annoyed you personally? Do you think that there's other characters? Have they struck you the same way? Why or why not? You don't have to do it all in one go. In fact, it's probably better that you don't do it all in one go. It's probably better that you just kind of ruminate on it after you leave it for a little bit, because then you form new associations and you think, do I really think that? Why do I think that? What else did this make me think of? It's something that I need to put more into practice instead of just blabbing to friends. I want to start writing essays. And that's another thing too. It didn't have to be the strictest terms academic. If you're learning, guess what, baby? It's academic. It's academy, or whatever that jingle is. It doesn't have to fall under the strictest scope of Booksmart or under the strictest book scope of academia. If it matters to you, if you're really passionate about this show and you think that the next episode should be completely different, then it matters to you. Write an essay on it. Talk about it. Why? For me, it would be the franchise deserves a 2nd season. Are they getting a 2nd season? Please be getting a season 2. It canceled it after 1 season. No! I'm gonna write an essay on why it should have a season 2. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. It's such a good show. If you haven't seen the franchise, you should watch the franchise. It's only 8 episodes and I'm so mad about it. I've never been a PA on an actual film set or a TV show and stuff like that, but I have been PAs on things that we're filming, music videos and stuff like that. I work in the entertainment industry. I'm an audio engineer, I'm a stage tech, I'm backline tech, A1, A2, and AV, all that. And if you want to know what it's actually like to work in that industry, what the workload and stuff is actually like, the craziness that goes on behind the scenes, that show is amazing for it. See, something like this, I could rant for 2 or 3 paragraphs and be like, this is why, but then tomorrow, I can come back and be like, well, here's these reasons why. And it doesn't have to, this is advice that I give to people also who want to start a YouTube channel, which, by the way, video essays count too, baby. If you feel more comfortable just ranting to a camera, do that. Pretend you're on FaceTime with a friend. And this advice will coalesce with the advice that I was about to tell you anyway, which is, no one has to see it but you. You don't have to turn this into a grade, you don't have to send it to your professor, but if you have a favorite professor and you just want to, I don't want to say harass, because I mean that when I talk about Jacques, and I mean it in a joking context. If you are on talking terms with a professor and you think that they would like to read it and you want to send it to them, that's your prerogative. You maintain that personal relationship, you know the boundaries, at least I hope you do, and I hope that you maintain and respect them. But no one has to see what you make but you. You don't have to turn this in for a grade. You aren't accountable to an audience. If you want to make YouTube videos, but you're scared about the audience reciprocation or whatever, you can put it on private. And the same thing with writing on Substack or, whatever. I think Substack has to be public. Well, not until you post it, because it saves it as drafts. But no one's going to see it but you. So write for you. Just write for you. As long as you're learning, that's what matters. Because even if you're not learning in a typical sense, you're learning about you, and that's just as worthy. Because, baby, you're all you got in this life. As Taylor Swift said, you on your own, kid. And as Child Shay once said, I'm awesome. And don't you forget it. God. Wish that were me. You gotta have ingenuity. You gotta have drive. But you gotta figure out what those things mean to you and just work them around. Because I promise you that you can. It may not be conventional. It may not be the easiest thing to do. But there is always some kind of method you can find for yourself. Case in point, I had to write my name on a bookmark using sticky foam letters. My name has 3 E's. I want you to see what I used for an E. Uh-oh, I ran out of E's. That's right. I turned an M sideways. It may not look right to anyone else, as long as it makes sense to you and you're not hurting anybody, not hurting yourself. Doesn't matter. So write that whole ramble on why you think the worst housewife is Tasha or whoever. I don't follow Real Housewives. Write that ramble about why you think Itachi would be a bottom. That one goes out to Nat specifically. Actually, I'm gonna ask Nat. We're gonna text Nat in real time, and we're gonna see. She's probably not gonna respond to me since it's 11. Do you think Itachi would be a bottom? We usually text each other good morning, and this is chaotic academia right here. No prelude, no context, just ask it right out. She's probably not gonna respond to me by the time that I'm done with this, and that's fine. Just leave me hanging, Nat. Leave me hanging. Or she's gonna wake up and be very confused, which... it's par for the course with me. But that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna brainstorm some essay topics, and I'm probably gonna outline something and some collages. I think I'm just gonna set myself up for tomorrow because it's starting to get late now. And like I said, I want to get in bed early, but I am planning on, spoiler alert, working at the library tomorrow. So I will be bringing my laptop, I'll be bringing my headphones, all of that, and we will probably work on my essays then. But I do need to get home to work out at a certain time. But I've already got my lunch made, so I don't have to worry about that. But I'm planning on going to town super early to get some coffee, and then go to the library and donate some books, and maybe buy some books, turn in some books, and then work. So maybe that's what I'll do. I will spend tonight trying to set up for success. Why do I keep doing this? I don't know. Is that a green dot? And then we'll go and get in bed. And while I'm doing this, you guessed it, I'm going to put on a lecture. I'm probably going to put on... what do I want to put on? I think I'm going to put on my Shiro's lecture. I have a She Heroes and something lecture on my watch later. I'll show it to you in a minute. In a shocking turn of events, I am watching something completely unrelated to what I told you earlier, but Vonnegut is one of my favorite authors, so this is kind of a hyper-focus for me, I guess. And the comments are really praiseworthy of this lecture, so we'll see. We will see, but it's The Heroic Quest, Vonnegut, and The Breakfast of Champions, which is one of my favorite Vonnegut novels next to Bluebeard. Also, it's 11/11. Make a wish. We're gonna talk a little bit about it because I'm just in a yapping mood tonight, but I promise this one won't be super long. So, some context. I do love Vonnegut. Vonnegut and Hemingway are two of my favorite writers, if that hasn't become clear to you. I have read Vonnegut's entire main bibliography of novels. Short stories, novellas, nonfiction, stuff like that. I have not yet. I'm working my way through, but the main line starting from Player Piano and ending with Timequake, I've read those. Breakfast of Champions is so interesting to me because by that point I understood why my favorite professor was so dogged about the person that he is an expert in, and I was like, oh no, I'm sliding into being one of my own, like a little armchair expert on this author. So I get it. I was like, I get it. Jacques, I get it. I think I even told him that too. But by Breakfast of Champions, I was really tracing through the meta, which is a big subject that, again, my favorite professor, who's an expert on a certain guy who is like a big guy in metafiction as well. I was like, I see a lot of links here. I get what you're putting down. When I tell people about Vonnegut, they're like, oh, I want to read Vonnegut. Where should I start with? Because a lot of people have read Slaughterhouse-Five. A lot of people read it in school. We did not, which is a shame, honestly. If you want to actually start reading Vonnegut in earnest, Slaughterhouse-Five is a good one if you want to be depressed. It is such a turn, and it's meant to be such a turn because it's based off of, biographical stuff, very heavy stuff. But if you want to start with Vonnegut, I often recommend Player Piano, which is the first one, Sirens of Titan, which is also a pretty safe bet, or Bluebeard, because I love Bluebeard. Bluebeard's my favorite, besides Breakfast of Champions. What I do tell people is I say steer your butt clear of Breakfast of Champions. If you want to know what's going on, steer clear of Breakfast of Champions. Because the only reason that Breakfast of Champions made total sense to me, I think the reason I got the most out of it, in personal opinion, is that I read all the books in chronological order up to that one. It felt like a method, though there be madness, there be method in it. And Breakfast of Champions is basically a meta-author going in and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, his entire universe and his characters. It's self-insert unfanfiction in a way. It is crazy. It is insanity. And I love it. But if you want an introduction to Vonnegut and you want to know what's going on, I don't recommend you start with that one. Work your way up to it, sure, absolutely. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. But please, for the love of God, don't start with Breakfast of Champions. But it is such an interesting, I think, look at metafiction that Jacques just, wherever he is in the world right now, he just went, Philip Roth. There's gonna be one niche person out there who's gonna be like, Jacques, and then I'm gonna say Philip Roth, and they're gonna put it together, and they're gonna be like, that was your professor? Unfortunately for him, yes, he was. But Breakfast of Champions is a particular interesting note for me, so I'm very curious what this professor has to say about the heroic quest. And this is a 180 class, so this is like a freshman class, it seems like. I don't know, but I'm very, very intrigued. I might just end up watching this entire hour-long lecture instead of writing essay topics myself, but I'm so excited.
It is typical of people, those of us who are members of the over 50 section of society. Ooh, I feel like I should like flash a sign or something like that, but the only one I know is the shocker. The tendency is, and you're going to have it too, is as you get older, you're going to look at these kids, these little babies, and you're going to think, what is wrong with these people? You know, important to me as an Oldo American, as a recovering cynic, recovering alcoholic, recovering Catholic.
Listen, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to discuss it. Thank you. That's not gonna be good for them. Not good for my wallet either, but actually it is, because they're all hardbacks. Most of them are, and they're only $2 a piece, so. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hi! Oh my goodness. You are a mess. You can't drive the mower. Okay, come here. I'll give you some food. Oh my gosh. Hi. I haven't updated much today because a lot of my day was taken up by a surprise guest. I ended up taking care of a dog nearby, a local dog that was in need of food and water. So that's been most of my day and working out. But what's more chaotic than actual chaotic wrenches thrown into plans? But just know that he is safe and sound. He is fed. He is watered. He is safe. He is all good. But that took up a big majority of the rest of my afternoon. But now I'm done working out. The dog is taken care of. I'm calling him Bub because he doesn't belong to me. Not right now. But I'm going to sit here and read the rest of the night. I'm probably going to watch an episode of Bleach or finish that lecture that I did not finish last night, and then finish a book or two tonight. I really need to finish 1 or 2 books tonight. That's the goal. Because it's only 8:30, so it's still quite early. I think I will. I'm going to. Then tomorrow, we have some more plans. I plan on going back into town and kind of roaming around, doing some more stuff. I will say, though, a big part of academia is learning to better the world, learning to better yourself, learning to better the conditions for other people so that those who don't have access to said academia can still thrive despite lack of opportunities or lack of accessibility to opportunities. So anytime that you have a chance to help somebody or something or someone, like a puppy, that needs some water or needs some food, You should do it. That is also academia. Not in the traditional sense, but that's why it's chaos, because no one gives off about tradition. It's punk rock to help. And if you can, you should. And if you're not able to, then it's also punk rock to try and find someone that can. Yeah, this has mostly been my morning. I did finish a book this morning, and I read a bunch in other books, which was a really great start while I was eating my breakfast, my homemade breakfast, and my coffee. But now I'm thinking I want to go to town today instead, because it's supposed to be really gloomy tomorrow, and that would be great reading weather. Do I go to town? Do I? The chaoticism in me says yes, but it's so hot. I don't want to walk around in the hot, but I would be walking around in various places, because I want to go support some local businesses. I have a little bit of cash that I've set aside for this vlog, so I can go out and do stuff if I felt like it. It's part of the crazy. So I'm thinking I want to go support some local businesses. My outfit today is very on brand, very on theme. I got one of my favorite Georgetown shirts out. I got my favorite shorts out. I need to clean this mirror, but we're not going to talk about that. I need to brush my hair, but this is very Giles adult punk graduate student daughter goes out for a day on the town. And that's the life I try to live every day, as I've already told you. So let's go to town.
Another chaotic or punk rock academia thing is just supporting your local community. We can't always affect change on a large scale, try as we might or as we want to, but change can start with you in your community. And it really does make such a difference for you to go and support your local small businesses, your local family businesses. Supporting your community at the minor level will have massive reverb effects. I'm not going to talk about it in depth because I went over the whole idea and the theme and ways that you can do that in my previous video if you're curious, but I really am just such a champion of it because I think it's changed my life as well. No, I know it's changed my life. I'm obviously not able to go out and support every small business, and I'm not able to do it all the time, but I try to work in little moments of my life like this where I am able to have kind of a nice day where I plan on going to the local bookstore, going to the coffee shop, going to the record store, looking around and thrifting and antiquing. It's a fun way for me to get out, get some fresh air, and get involved in my community, even if that's just showing up, which is honestly more than half the battle. Plus, you never know what gems you're gonna find. People think that they find gems on Facebook Marketplace all the time, which I do too, and mine's also kind of cursed. But look at this coat. Look at this. I found this just digging around in one of my antique stores, thrifting stores that I go to, and I fell in love with it. I don't think I ever look good in coats like that just because I have such a weird body proportion shape, but I put this on and immediately fell in love with it, and the look on my face at the end says all you need to know. Another cool find was this collection of little Shakespeare books. Of course, y'all know I had to pick up the Hamlet one and look at it. I couldn't resist.
Good evening, Charlie.
You want to talk about the whole thing of being known, of getting known in your community? There's nowhere like being known than at a bookstore, a coffee shop, and especially a record store. Learning a music taste can tell you so much about someone. You can share so many unspoken experiences through the music taste that you share, and you can get recommendations, and it's just such a welcoming and wholesome atmosphere, at least mine, speaking from mine's experience.
The first and foremost thing that you probably figured out that I treated myself to, I got it. I got The Man in the Iron Mask by Dumas. If you do not know, The Three Musketeers is my favorite book of all time, and I do love all of Dumas's work. He is one of my favorite authors. Now I can reread this and annotate it as well, because I love the spine. I Can Be Back with My Babies, Athos, Porthos, Aramis, and D'Artagnan. I also pre-ordered, well, it's not really pre-ordered, but ordered Women and Other Monsters because my local store didn't have it, but they are getting it in for me, so that's very exciting. Then I went to one of my favorite stores where I am known and loved, Variety Record Store, and I basically cleared Charlie out of his cassettes. Starting off, we got Bangles, Everything, Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA for $1, Jimmy Davis and The Junction. This might be one of the prizes, one of the prizes from this haul. Wayne's World. And look, Digilog. Oh, also Jimmy Davis and The Junction comes from the Sound Shop. 11,787. Isn't that crazy? Rick Springfield's Towel. This one is also one of the mother loads. Metallica's, no pun intended, Metallica's Load for $1. John Fogerty's Centerfield. Who's John Fogerty? John Mellencamp. He is not John Cougar Mellencamp on this one. He's just John Mellencamp whenever we wanted. Yes. Night Ranger, Midnight Madness. And then Sherlock Holmes, Radio Mysteries. When were these recorded? 1948. That should be a fun listen. I have mud all over me. CDs. I also got some CDs. I got Exiles, Justice, House of Red. I do not know what this is, but judging by the back, I am thinking girl power. So, then Rick Springfield. This one's more for my mom, but it was also only $1. But I also love the bins that are the art supply section. So there are actual records like vinyls, 78s, 45s, that I think are 25 cents a piece for art supplies. And then the album covers, if there's no album with them, it's just the covers, and they're art supplies for 10 cents. But before we do that, I was flipping through the movie soundtracks, and I have never seen this movie soundtrack, but I have read the book, and it's by one of my favorite authors, and I can't resist it. It's A Farewell to Arms. Have I seen this movie? No, but now I kind of want to. It's not my favorite Hemingway novel. It's really not. I'm glad that I started with that one, though, because that really gave me an insight into Hemingway's style and just what he's about. If you were to ask me for a Hemingway recommendation, I would tell you The Old Man and the Sea. Probably not for your first one. I'd say for your second one. For your first one, I'd say For Whom the Bell Tolls. And then I would say The Old Man and the Sea. Now let's get to the art supplies. So I usually kind of not look at the art supplies. I will every now and then because I've caught some records there, some covers, not the actual records, but the covers. I have been really wanting to collage lately while listening to some lectures, as we've known and as I have not yet done, and I thought, what could be more fun than making some collages out of album covers? So, here's what I got. I got the Buckaroos Strike Again, Buck Owens. I've never heard this album in my life, but look at that. I'm in love. I love it so much. I could either cut them out or I can do things around them. And I also just love the Buckaroos Strike Again. It amuses me to no end. Here is the back for anyone that's curious. Then we have Nancy Wilson's Now I'm a Woman. Just an iconic cover. Look at this. Beautiful. I was thinking of doing kind of like a feminist collage or something with this. I don't know, like around here. Or maybe just something with her. I don't know, but I love it. I love it in general. It's very beautiful. Then we have one of my personal favorites, one of my queens, one of the underrated queens of country music, and I will stand on this hill and fight on this hill, G.C. Riley. Look at this queen. Look at her. If you do not know Harper Valley PTA, it is the original smackdown, talk down of, like, country music, and you should go listen to it. Again, just kind of like, I don't know, female empowerment or something, or just, I don't quite know yet. But I love this cover. I love the space that it has to work with. And also just these pictures on the back. What an icon. One of the things that I do love about the Southern aesthetic is the cult culture around the gospel. I was raised in a church since I was 16 years old. Now, I'm not here to preach to you. I'm not here to say anything about religion. If you follow your own religion, you have your own faith, and you're not hurting anybody, not hurting yourself, that's no one's business. But I do think the organization and the culture around the idea of a church or the standardized gospel of the South or the organization, that the Bible Belt in general, I find fascinating. Especially just the cult-like horror that can be drawn from it. I love it. And that being said, I kind of want to make a gospel horror kind of thing, Southern horror, Appalachian horror, with Hank Williams' I Saw the Light. Am I gonna desecrate this? Yeah. but I'm gonna make it art. Then this one I'm really just kind of planning on cutting up just because it looks really cool, but I may do a collage out of it too. I may use it for a collage, like as a base, or I may cut it up to use for a collage, but it's something about hot rods, Hot Rod Lincoln, just really cool car stuff. That is what I came home with. I had food. I also played with my guest. That sounds weird. I hope you know what I mean. And I've just been sitting on the couch reading. I've almost finished Babel. It feels so good once you get within the last 100 pages of a book and you're like, I'm finishing this sucker tonight. So naturally, I'm starting on The Secret History. I wanted to do things tonight, but sometimes you just gotta lock it. Says every Ivy League student, sometimes you just gotta lock it. While sobbing. No words. We're gonna get back to these words, and then we'll talk. I just want to let you know what's up. We'll talk probably in the morning. I forgot to add water. I'm making breakfast this morning, obviously. The only thing that I have planned is me and Nat are gonna call for our Trigon Batman watch, and then pretty much the entire day is gonna be spent with me reading for the rest of Full Moon Readathon. Do any of y'all ever have that thing where instead of mostly dreams, you have nightmares? Pretty much all my life, I've had more nightmares than I've had dreams. Maybe I should look into what that says about me. But some research that I was doing at the library about yokai, I want to continue on a little bit today, maybe as a break between books, just to get my eyes off of a book, and then more healthily onto a screen. But you know, just to kind of keep the mind alight. It is a pretty good day for me. It's a totally off day. I do have to work on Friday, and I have some work to do today, but luckily for me, this kind of is my work. Am I being paid for it? No. But maybe one day I will, and it's kind of just the joy of doing it in general that keeps me going. Wow, who knew YouTube was so much like academia? I also would sit on this counter, but it's just a lip of a counter, and it would break, because this is the sink. Pour myself a cup of ambition, rise and shake and try to come to life. Part of my nightmare last night, this was not part of the nightmare, but it was part of the nightmare, but it wasn't a nightmare part of the nightmare, because it really didn't turn into a nightmare until, like, kind of the end. But there was Dolly's 9 to 5 in it. Working 9 to 5. If you haven't seen 9 to 5, you should. Oh my god. You know when, like, you do something or say something that unlocks a part of your dream? Apparently there was a part of my dream where Pam from The Office was in it, and we were in an apartment that I guess was like an office, and she comes up to me and gives me some kind of message, but then we started talking about J.R. Ward. I was like, oh my god, you love J.R. Ward too? And she was like, oh yeah, I just finished reading whatever, and I said something, and I was like, oh my god, like, I love her or something. And then she looked at me and she was like, Shay, you're such a feminist or something, and walked away. And I was like, yeah, it was some kind of lovingly mocking thing about being so much of a feminist or something. I don't know, but wow, I wish I could have context for that. You know the game LSD Dream Simulator? That's really what a lot of my dreams are like. So I get it. I'm not on drugs. My kitchen decor may tell you differently. Do not listen to the man behind the curtain or the woman disappearing beneath the counter. Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. Barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. Should be a good day today. I think. I hope. I'm coming, bub. What are you doing? Hi! We need to talk about a post that legitimately just me up a little bit. Okay, I just saw a post that I'll post it here, pun not intended. It was like, imagine a production of Hamlet where at the end with Goodnight My Sweet Prince, Horatio looks up and sees the audience for the first time and is shocked and furious that his whole world fell apart, and we as the audience just sat there and watched. I'm not okay. I'm not okay with that. And yet, I sat there for a minute when I saw this post, and my mouth was just... I would never physically recover if I went into a production of Hamlet and they did that. I would think about that every day for the rest of my life. God, I want a tattoo so badly, but I am so broke. Change of plans, fam. I am not sitting there reading or doing a lecture. I have caramel in my mouth, which is why I'm talking like this. What we are now doing is Legos, candy, movies. Everything okay? Everything good? I'm making all the updates while I'm in this robe and getting warm after a shower, which was desperately needed. This vlog so far has very much not gone to plan. And you know what? That makes sense considering there was never a plan to begin with, but it's really gone off the rails. I thought it was just a matter of structure, but then I kind of became surrogate mother to 3 dogs within the span of like 72 hours. Actually, surrogate mother to 1 dog, and then today it became 2, and then by this afternoon it became 3. So actually it does fit in with the vibes of the vlog. I'll give you a little TLDR. So I think I updated you on the puppy situation. Well, today I woke up and he had brought his friend, okay? And I was like, okay, well maybe they're just both here. But then I noticed how skinny the second dog was, and I was like, over here also looking for food. And so I fed them both, just not much, but like just enough to be like, here, you know, whatever. And then the healer, the other dog, the second dog, his friend, went home, and it was just him for a while. So I let him come in the basement, and we were chilling for a while. And then this afternoon, I come back outside, and him and the healer are back. And I was like, oh, so the healer has come back. Okay. And so I fed him a little bit again, because I was like, you know, she looks very skinny. Pretty sure it's a gold dog. I was like, you look pretty skinny. Like, I'm not going to let you go hungry. I'm not going to sit here and feed him and not feed you. That's not right. That's not fair. And so I just fed him like a little bit. I wasn't like feeding him, but I was like, here, you know. And I'm standing there and I'm talking about what to do with these 2 dogs, right? I'm talking to my mom, and then I hang up and I'm just standing there and I look up. Here comes the husky. The husky is the 3rd dog, which has been over to my house a time or 2, but he was always very shy. Like when I approached him, he would like slink off and go back through the fence to the neighbors, which I understand. I wasn't approaching like, come here, baby, come here, baby. It's a strange dog. I'm a stranger. I get it. So this is what worried me, is the fact that when I motioned him and I was like, hi, baby, he came up to me and let me pet him. Alarm bells going off. Alarm bells. And he also looks super skinny, and I was like, something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong. And so I went to the neighbor's driveway and I dumped out the rest of the dog food because I fed all 3 of them. And I left the bread that way hopefully they would stay there for a little bit. And then I went to town to go get more dog food. I come home, all 3 dogs are sitting on the hill. I'll just play the video. I cannot make this up. Are you serious? This went from being a studious vlog to being Shay adopts 3 dogs against her will vlog. I want to read tonight, but I want to have time to actually sit down and envelop myself in the reading. So I'm going to watch the movie first. I need to make sure the dogs aren't causing a heist. And then I'm going to sit down and finally watch K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm so nervous because I don't like the animation style. It gives me a headache. Like, I'm afraid that it's that animation style. It gives me a headache. I am of the very, very small opinion where I'm like, Spider-Man Across the Universe or whatever it is, beautiful movie, extremely well done. Will not argue that point. Cannot watch it all the way through. It gives me such a freaking headache. I cannot stand this new 3D animation style. I can't do it. And apparently, it may have something to do with like the depth perception, like being different in your eyes. Like it can't compute. So that would explain, because I feel bad because I'm like, oh, these people like clearly work hard, you know, so, but I can't stand it. I'm like, this is awful. I can't stand it. I'm very nervous because I'm also very, very picky about my pop music, because if it's too repetitive, it just gets on my nerves and it grates on my nerves. And so I am very much killing my expectations. I'm killing my darlings before I go into it, because it has been so overhyped that I'm afraid I'm not going to like it. I'm going to be like, y'all lied. Y'all lied, because I really hope to like it. I want to join in with the joy, but I'm so afraid that I'm not going to. So we're going to rip the Band-Aid off and we're just going to do it. I'm 9 minutes in, and all it took for Shay is so predictable. I am so predictable. All I needed to hear was there once was a Demon King, and I just went, literally out loud, I went, I love you. Y'all see me getting my soul taken by a demon, mind your business. I worked hard for that. Mind your business. Okay? Anytime a demon is mentioned, I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm gone! Should I be in bed? Yes. Am I about to start book 5 of one of my potentially new favorite series? Every book has been 5-star in it, and annotate it? Yes. But only the first couple chapters. Promise. Or at least, maybe the first 10 pages. Maybe I'll stop after the first 10 pages. Because I want to go to bed and get up early. Famous last sleepy words. By the way, you want to talk about chaotic academia? Chaotic academia in a book series. The Johannes Cabal series. My Boy the Necromancer. This is it. Pay no attention to that. My library blessed me with this. But this is the last book in the Johannes Cabal series. I absolutely love this series. I love the main characters. I love the story. I'm ready to get my heart ripped out. But yeah, he's basically a necromancer of little infamy. And him and his brother kind of get up to shenanigans. Like, look at this. This is how it starts. You can't just go around killing readers. You are in a precarious spot. Much like my life. Today, we are gonna go to the library. I have a book that I gotta pick up from the bookseller, the local bookstore. Support your local indies, by the way. And then I'm gonna get some coffee. Might get some coffee first and then get the book. Because I'm bringing some books with me to read and to annotate. I'm not bringing my laptop. I'm actually just going to sit and read and note take and maybe draft some more in my writing journal. And we're just gonna hang around in town before I have to go do adult things like errands. But we're just gonna embody. We're gonna embody the false fall today. Really embody leaning into that part of the dark academia, light academia aesthetic. Why not? It's supposed to be 80 degrees today, but like that's the high. So I can live with that. This is the fit for today. Throwing crop top and typical jeans. Now I gotta put my tennis shoes on. I'm probably gonna wear my Beartooth jacket. Maybe I won't. But it does get cold in the library. But I can always get it out when I go to the library. One more thing. Let's talk about the fit for today. Otherwise, so I've got my messenger bag, my satchel. I love this thing. I've had it since college. It's served me very, very well. I've got all my books inside. I've got my little commonplace book inside. My pencil pouch, which needs to go in there. And then my book tote. Because guess what, baby? That's right, they're having the book sale at the library, so you know what that means. I just now got some of my haul put up here. Where's the other haul, you ask? Listen, I won't talk about it, okay? I won't talk about it. Okay, made an unplanned stop to talk to Charlie. Ended up getting some stuff. Still drinking my coffee, but it's fine because this allows me to drink my coffee and then get rid of it. I got 20 minutes to get to the library sale, and it's only a block away, so we're good. We're good.
Don't worry, I'm not going to get existential for this chime in. I'm just here to tell you that I am loving utilizing my local library more. It is such a good and welcoming space. And I was also really enjoying my newest Stephen Graham Jones novel that I own. I love Stephen Graham Jones, one of my favorite authors of all time. It was nice to have that little break, but then, of course, I had to go to work. And work was fun, especially moving this giant table by myself, which they told me that I was going to need help to move, and that is the number one way to get me to do something by myself.
That's steel, by the way. I come to you with hauls. I'm just gonna go over my book, or my music hauls right now, what I got from Variety Records. So I got this Cruisin' 1964, which is basically just it's a mixtape record. God, I am a compilation record of that year from back then. It came out in 1973. It says 2009. I don't know, but it's cool. I love little compilation albums like this, no matter when they came out, if they're a certain time period or genre or stuff like that. I just think that they're fun. It's the original Spotify playlist. Johnny Cash's Live at Folsom Prison, just because I don't own it on CD, and that's a crime. Then I got Poison's. I think it's just like a greatest hits record or whatever. This one's from my dad, that way he can blast it on his stereo, but I also like Poison. Then we have VH1 Divas Live. This is a cassette that I looked at it, and it's got Mariah Carey, Gloria Estefan, it's got Shania Twain, it's got all kinds of people on it, and I have no idea, but it seems cool, so yeah, that's what I got. Just a nice little haul, just a couple of little things. I'm really feeling like just staying in and reading after a day of working, and I gotta go into work tomorrow, so I don't really want to invest in anything really heavily. I kind of just want to have some food, read, and relax. Sometimes you just need to turn your brain off by turning it on to another world. And I am going to be reading, I'm going to be focusing on my nonfiction. So I'm going to be on the real world, but not my immediate world. You know what I mean? I'm going to be expanding my brain while being cozy. Sometimes you need to be uncomfortable to learn. Sometimes you need to get out there and read things and learn things that make you uncomfortable and make you confront your own mortality and your own privilege and your own situation. But you don't always have to be doing it to do it. Sometimes you can be in cozy PJs while you read a book that makes you very aware of where you are in a certain system or in a certain society and what you can do to help others who are not so lucky as you, even if in the small ways, even just in something like food security, may teach you things that you never thought about, or that you just haven't been able to grow up with that perspective because you haven't been in that place ever in your life. It's not meant to make you bow down and kowtow like, oh, I should feel so bad and blah, 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 blah. It's just saying, hey, this reality exists too. So the two books that I got from the library, Billy the Kid, The Endless Ride. I've always had a soft spot for Billy the Kid. Then this one, I almost left it, but I could not. I am only going to hold this for like 2 weeks and get as far as I can into it, and I'm not going to worry about finishing it just because I'm taking it as like, I want to try this and see if I like it. It is Dungeon Crawler Carl. Yeah, I'm finally getting with the times, y'all. But I'm also feeling like in a mood like I want to start 1 million books, which is not good for me because I need to be finishing 1 million books. But maybe I'll just try a chapter of all of them. Maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe I'll just try a chapter in a bunch and see what I'm feeling, and then start 2 from what I read. How about that? That sounds good. That's fair. That's fair. Hello. I just got back from work. Working 3.5 hours, and then flipping an entire room, taking up 26... It's not 26, but taking up a good amount, like 200 something theater chairs. Yeah, over 200. I don't know what I'm talking about, because there's 26 per row, and there's like over 10 rows. So yeah, taking up a theater full of chairs, and then putting out over almost 30 tables, and then 2 to 8 chairs per table, over 160 chairs in 3.5 hours, and bars and table covers and stuff like that. So not the hardest work in the world, but very tiring. Went to CVS, picked up some stuff, came home, fed the dogs, took 10 minutes to get up my driveway because of said dogs, and then got home, socialized with the dogs, fed the dogs. Now they're locked outside. And you know, I had a thought when I was on my way to and on the way from work. I'm like, wow, I'm not going to get to do anything for the video today. I'm not going to get to do anything because I've been at work most of the time. I've been taking care of these dogs. But actually it hit me that, hey, dodo head, that's why people are here. That's the point of this video. A realistic way of how to work in this lifestyle around your actual lifestyle, no matter how chaotic it may be. So yes, it makes sense to have my real life days in here, because that's what it's about, is finding the actual ways why chaotic academia works for me, because I'm able to work it as a lifestyle within my actual lifestyle that works, you know? Before I hear you say anything, I'm the only one that drinks out of this in this house. My parents don't drink Diet Dr. Pepper. And if anyone comes over, I have another bottle that I can use. This is mine. So I'll do with it what I want. Do with it what I fucking want. Hit me again, bartender. Tonight, though, because I'm tired and I'm going to need to make dinner soon, I think I'm going to sit down and read. I know, I keep saying that. But tonight, I don't have to go to work tomorrow. I may hang out with my cousin for a little bit. Maybe not. I don't know what her plans are. But I'm just going to go with that I'm going to be home all day. And so I'm just gonna kind of read and chill tonight, I think. And I know this is very low-key compared to the drain of some people's 9 to 5. I get that. Don't get me wrong. I see the privilege in the mirror. But in terms of energy, I'm kind of just done for the day. I haven't been sleeping well. I had a headache earlier, on the verge of a lot of mental seas. And I kind of want to escape for a little while. I've been really feeling like wanting to annotate and also finish my library books. So maybe I'll annotate a few chapters, or I'll pick up a book and read a couple of chapters. Good morning. It's been quite the busy time, as the birds would agree. I went outside this morning, spent some time with the dogs, spent some time in the sunshine. The dogs are finally getting adjusted, I do believe, and so I'm able to leave them, on their own much more without supervision. The puppies still need puppy disciplining and puppy supervision. Stuff like this comes up. And I did actually read the other night when I told you I was going to, but today, talking about fitting into my busy schedule, I have to go to my parents' house and then I have to go to work and then I'll be back here on Saturday. But I want to get some stuff done today. I want to read some today. I already spent some beautiful time outside, so I'm not feeling that too bad. But I have been having this hankering to put stickers on my radio, like really, really badly. I think I'm gonna listen to an audiobook while I do that, or maybe just listen to some music while I do that. And then I'm gonna sit down and read for a little bit because I am doing a 24-hour readathon with my friend Nat, just timed casual thing because I have some current reads that I need to finish up. I am out of breath because I've been running after dogs and stuff all morning, but I'm changed, I'm ready for the day. Let's do some stuff. I am going to clean her up first, and then we are gonna go through my stickers, some of my collection stickers, and just see what fits, see what I feel like. And if you want a good summary of my personality, here's my Slayer CD. Now, you might think, like, Shay, that looks oddly bright for a Slayer CD case. Yeah, that's because it's not. It's the CD case for A Cinderella Story, the original soundtrack. Yeah. Yep, there's Shay in a nutshell. Alright, that is so much better. Now it's time to actually start sorting. Ooh, Marty's. Does Marty's fit? Marty's is a little bit big, but Matryoshka is one of my favorite coffee shops in Nashville. If you're ever in Nashville, you gotta go to Marty's. It's more than a coffee shop. This is not sponsored, but if they ever do sponsor someone, I wish, bro. I wish. She's done, or I should say she's temporarily done, because I left some room to put some more if I happen to feel like it, but this is what we have for right now. And honestly, she's a vibe. She's a vibe, and I love her. I love her so much. What do I actually have in here right now? I'm scared to know. Oh, a day to remember. Okay. Whew. Yeah. Cool. I also listened to almost an hour of this audiobook that I got a while back. It's called Sickening. It's about America and the pharmaceutical industry and stuff like that, and the health industry and stuff like that. I got it a long time ago from my library, but then I think they lost their hold on it. I don't know what their claim on it or something, whatever it's called. But then I got my Nashville Public Library card, and I paid the $5 fee for out of county to get audiobooks and stuff like that, and they have it. Now I'm finishing it. So I was listening to nonfiction and learning while I was doing this. So that feels good. I'm halfway through that. It's still got 4 and something hours left. Don't get me wrong, I think it's narrated really well. I think that it is plain spoken. I think that it's easy to understand and it's interesting, but it is a lot of information. The first hour of my 24-hour readathon is down, and I still have the timer running right now just because it actually somehow is satisfyingly timed on the hour. Like, as in I have 22 hours and 58 minutes left and it's 2:02 right now. It's satisfying. I'm not going to stop it right now, but I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about what I've been reading this first hour. I read like 50 pages in The Buffalo Hunter, I think. Like 40. I read like 40 in this. I read a chapter in Stormfront, and I read about 30 pages in Hood Feminism, I think. So we got a good little dent down. A good little chunk, and I'm happy with that. I feel relieved. I feel relieved to be reading again, but also I'm frothing at the bit to get outside in the sun and stuff like that, and maybe go play with the dogs. So maybe I will take this as a break, as a first hour win, and maybe I'll go outside and play with the dogs for a little bit.
Richard Horton, editor-in-chief of The Lancet. It was a picture-perfect July day on posh Cape Cod resort.
Good morning. I don't have a lot of time to chat this morning. There is a dog hair on my phone. That pretty much describes the way that this video has gone. I don't have much time this morning because I'm about to go to work, but I want to talk to you about kind of the game plan for the day that I've figured out. So I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna do some odd jobs while I'm there, and then when I come home I want to have some decompression reading time. It's gonna be a very busy day today, so today is actually a perfect example of how to work in our stuff. I think I'm gonna work out a little bit because, reminder, it is also important to work your mind as well as your body as well as you can, even if it's just going for a walk. Hell, half of what I do is walk on my walking pad, and that's valid. And then I'm going to read for a while because it is perfect fall weather outside. It looks very bright outside. It's not. It's very gloomy. Supposed to be some thunderstorms and stuff coming in this afternoon. So I'll sit down and read and probably write a little bit. And I have some editing to do, but it's the perfect opportunity for me to read and do some writing and just kind of get some out of my brain. As life is wont to do, there was a change in plans. I ended up staying later at work than I thought I was because some things arose at work that we did not anticipate. And I came home later than I wanted to. But I got the puppers fed in case it was supposed to storm and rain today. And I fed Stormy. And sorry I'm a little bit out of breath. I also just finished my minor workout. I didn't go too hard today because I feel like I got enough of a workout at work. But I just wanted to get a little bit of movement in because I haven't done that in an official capacity in a while. Now it's 6 p.m. I need to start thinking about dinner. And that's kind of the normal problem for everyone, right? Is like, where does the time go? Because a lot of people are just now getting home, I would say, probably at 5 or 6 o'clock, and you're just drained and exhausted. And you have to start thinking about dinner and then sleep. And it's like, where do you find the time to be academic, even in things that are supposed to inspire you and hype you up? Honestly, taking it baby step by baby step. Not asking, can you, but like, when can you? What conditions would allow you to feel comfortable doing said thing? So say you really want to research this topic, but you're not sure that you have the mental energy to do it. Instead of asking yourself or feeling bad about yourself, like, when can I do this? Like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't have the energy, blah, 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 blah. Ask, when can you? When would you be ready to feel such a thing? When you have more energy? Sure, but what can you do that you feel you can facilitate right now to either facilitate it happening right now or to make the transition or doing it later easier? So can you go ahead and look up some websites that you've been thinking of and go ahead and bookmark them for later when you do have the energy? Can you set up yourself a little cozy study spot? Put your favorite blanket in a chair. Even if it's just that step, getting it ready takes down the barriers for when you are ready. Basically, you just need to follow tips for ADHD. Break down the barriers to entry, break down the barriers to the steps, because the less steps you have in between you and doing said thing, the less energy you have to expend. Same thing if you want to read a book, but you're not sure, maybe I should read a grammar book, but you're not sure that you have the energy, again, to do so. Maybe just put your favorite blanket in a cozy chair. Little things like that will add up, because then you don't have to think about it the next time that you have energy. You can just be like, oh, that's already ready to go. And sometimes you'll find that when you already do that first or second step, you'll be like, actually, I do feel like I kind of want to do this for a while. Not always, and that's okay. We do what we can, and we're kind to ourselves and our minds, because that's going to facilitate better learning. It's going to facilitate better livelihood. And I'm going to practice what I preach tonight. I have a lot of editing and stuff to do. It's so cool because I can see blue sky. I'm going to tilt you upside down, but you can see blue sky and the clouds, but then all the way over there, storm clouds, and then turning you 360, Miss Rosie, her seeping. Try not to make that too fast in case it made someone seasick. But I'm gonna be kind to my mind that way tonight because I do need to have my post-workout snack a little bit, and then I need to have supper, and then I'm gonna be exhausted because I do have some work to do. So I think I'm going to set the books that I want to read out on my table. I'm gonna get out my favorite mug for the morning, and I'm gonna tidy up my couch. That way that I can think more clearly when it comes to either being cozy or working. Good evening, crow babies. I've spent the last hour and a half non-stop reading after a day of a lot of work, the past few days of a lot of work and a lot of brain gremlins. But just goes to show, if you find a good book that keeps your attention, you can lock in. I read over a little over 100 pages in less than 90 minutes. Which, granted, I read pretty quickly anyway, but I was sat. Snobby Mordor has me sat. Good night. Good Friday morning. There's supposed to be some storms today, so my schedule is kind of very off kilter. Also, something bit me again. I get bit a lot for someone that doesn't have a vampire husband or wife or baby. I don't know. But I did what I told you about, and please ignore the state of my living room. I'm in the middle of cleaning. But this is my stack that I was telling you about to just ease of access. Be like, give me. So, and this is what I'm going to be reading first. So, but just imagine this. There. I got my drink. I got my books that I can just read and grab and go between. Ease of access. We love to see it. And I finally have a day off work where I'm not carrying 31 flights of stair crap. Sometimes when you're extremely busy, or, something like a Friday night and you don't feel like going out, but you also don't want to sit there and scroll on your phone, but also, you can't really figure out what you want to do, but you don't want to go out, and also you don't just want a monotony of staying in. Give yourself a little project. Give yourself a niche, quirky, arbitrary goal that no one but you will care about. For example, my 24-hour readathon that I'm doing. No one cares. I'm not making a video about it. It's in my videos, yes, but instead of doing whatever on a Friday night, this is what I'm devoting myself to. Think of it as your own little mad scientist cosplay in your own little laboratory. Whatever it may be. It may be finishing a puzzle. It may be printing out coloring pages and finishing an entire coloring book in one night. It could be teaching yourself calculus. I don't know. Give yourself a little goal that also, don't talk to anyone about it. Really embody the mad scientist thing, and don't tell anybody about it until it's done. And maybe make it bite-sized for the weekend, or, for that night, or whatever, but making things that you can get yourself excited about in niche little ways that you don't have to share with anyone, and also don't count against you, or, don't have any repercussions if you don't accomplish them, even if they aren't what people think of as traditional goals. Just go all out with them. For instance, I've been doing this 24-hour readathon for a while, but tonight, this Friday night, my plans, I'm going to try and finish 5 books tonight. That yawn does not forebode well. And it's something that doesn't have to wait till the weekend either. It's actually a pretty good strategy for just when you come home from work and you may not have the time or the energy, like we talked about with just getting things set up. The next night, try and actually do the goal or whatever it is that you set up the previous night, or at least do another step on your way to that. And I cannot stress this enough. A big indicator, a big thing, a big theme in a lot of dark academia or any kind of academia work is the group of friends that also have these super niche interests, but you kind of converge with similar interests, but all diverse perspectives on it, or diverse vested interest in it. You may all like poetry, but maybe one of you hates romantic poetry and another one of you loves gothic poetry. You know what I mean? Also, having friends doing these said things, doing their own little worlds, but you can come together for some things, can also help you dive deeper into what you love and find new things to love about it, because you're looking at it through the eyes of people that you love. Case in point, I'm buddy reading Moby Dick with a bunch of friends from the Lair that I met in Jan Agaton's Patreon. Having little mini it didn't have to be a book, it could just be the PowerPoints. The trend that a lot of people are doing of the niche PowerPoint nights is a perfect example. Just little projects for yourself that can come together with people who have somewhat similar interests can also help you continue your learning journey in a non-traditional learning setting, but still learning, and you're still doing things, and you're still just out there living. And God, that's what most of this is about, the way that you can continue to live and do these things, and it doesn't have to be separate. It can just fit into your life and actually be all the better to influence you to go out there and live, to get more lived experience, to continue living and continue learning, and how it all cycles into each other. I'm gonna go read Bunny and finish The Secret History, which is very much not about life. Yeah, I'm gonna stop yapping. I'm gonna get to it. Something bit me last night. Again, this is not an unknown occurrence in my household. Good night. Who says that all academic reading has to be old people? Old people writing old words. Who says it must be Tolstoy or Hemingway or Donna Tartt? Who says it can't be Mysteries of Bizarre Animals and Freaks of Nature, aka the book made for me? Thank you. Thank you, fellas. Thank you, JL, me. See, it's important to read the fun stuff, because through the fun stuff, you find out that you've been mispronouncing words like this for forever. And also, look at these dudes. Look at these dudes! If you need further evidence that reading non-traditional literature as a way to educate yourself is actually educational, so I'm just reading this little segment on the electric eel, right? Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure it's a book for kids, right? Which is, awesome. And no, I am not the one that took a bite out of this. But it is fitting and thematic, isn't it? Well, this reminds me of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, that this guy is just in here. And I love him, but, the rest of the illustrations throughout here are pretty relatively tame. Relatively. Here's one of a fish, There's pretty spooky one of a jellyfish, a bat, stuff like that, a horse, that kind of thing. But back to my point, don't let anyone tell you that reading non-traditional educational literature is not educational nor literature, because I learned something from here, that there's such a thing as an electric catfish. As someone from Tennessee who is very, very familiar with catfish, I did not know that they came in zoinks mode. Good Sunday afternoon. I have a few hours. Hello, handsome. I have a handsome young gentleman joining me. Two handsome young gentlemen. Hi boys. Hi, my sons. A boy mom core. I have a few hours this Sunday before I do want to spend some time actually getting to work, editing some videos and stuff like that, before I get back to real life work. I have a couple hours to kill. Bless you. While I'm sitting out here in the nice sun, this beautiful, beautiful weather, and I still have 6 hours left in my readathon, so I'm going to spend a few of those today before I get started on the work to set me up for the rest of my week. And here's the books that I'm going to read. Wow, Shay, turned them completely the wrong way. I am nearly finished with 3 of these, and then this one I want to finish before tomorrow, when I need to take it back to the library, because tomorrow is going to be a very big day. Boys, please be careful. Please be careful, boys. I do have to go to work tomorrow. There is some benefit to structure within chaos, even if it's structure that only makes sense to you. Even if it's just one routine that you wake up every morning and have your green tea with your breakfast, or you have breakfast before you have your green tea, or whatever it may be. It can still be chaotic to other people and be routine to you. And for some people, this is how the chaotic academia would probably work best. It's just working it into your own structured routines, which is what we're talking about, right? Or things that you can't change. But having some things that you can change and choose your own routine and structure is some of the most helpful ways to find freedom within that rigidness. Where are my sons? And one of those ways is before and after work. Now, a lot of these routines, I'm not going to get into that, but also finding ways to create... Thank you, Sam. Sam agrees. Thank you, Sam. Oh, hi. Okay, yeah, we're just gonna have to talk about this later, I think, because I am being knocked around by my children. Who do I call for the parental helpline? Having some structure can help with that chaos, with cultivating that chaos. In a way, like I said, just setting yourself up for success, whether it be getting out that blanket or setting up your books or whatever like that, and finding time to work things in between. So for instance, I always want to go to the library as much as I possibly can. I also want to support one of my local coffee shops as much as I possibly can. How do I fit those things into such a busy schedule? Well, for me, I was able to find routine for both of them instead of just randomly, which I can still do. I can still go to them as randomly, as I'm able to do. But I would like them to become part of my structure. So for me, recently, I came to an arrangement with one of the venues that I work at to come in on certain days of the week and do some odd jobs just for some extra side cash. And that is perfect because it's right down the road from those other places that I want to go. So I've decided that on that day, that will be my coffee library day. Like, I can go more, but that will be my designated routine for that day, and I can do whatever I want within that structure, but having the structure is helpful as a setup to begin with. This helps me set aside a few hours in a place I already want to be to do some stuff that I want to do, whether it's read library books or whether it is research on the internet or whether it's work on my novel with a cup of coffee or work on whatever I'm working on. It gives me a few hours within that space, within another space that I already wanted to carve out. And see, I'm sandwiching it up. I'm sandwiching it all together. But then, even if I'm tired when I come home at the end of the day and I don't feel like doing anything else, I at least got those few things done that morning. And it's not about feeling productive, but it's just about setting myself up to be, if I feel like it, if I want to be. Just knowing that it's there helps so immensely. Hello, Sambo. Hello, Sambo. Hi, Sam. He's such a good boy. He is such a good boy. He sets me up for success by being such a good boy. He is so gentle. And this is the jealous boy. That's my jealous son. Leave him alone, you silly boy. That's mainly what I want to say. We're going to see how that works, but hopefully the science makes sense to you, because it makes sense to me. And I know how privileged I am to have such an unstructured day. Ow! Like that. For now, I'm just gonna sit out here with two of my children and read some and enjoy this nice, beautiful weather. But I have these moments where I'm like, I need to be in bed, or I need to be doing X or this, because if I don't, then it's going to immediately impede on other things that I have to do with my life, such as waking up at a decent time. Now, it's not to say, well, let me continue on this train of thought before it just off the rails. So, that motion was very ironic considering what I just finished reading. Sometimes, especially if I'm reading a very good book that I am hooked in on and I'm like less than 100 pages from finishing it, I will stay up as late as I need to finish that book. Do I regret it the next day? Kind of, but also no. But I also get into this same state with something that I love doing. For me, it's writing. So I brought my laptop here to bed with me, and I'm gonna write until I pass out. Just because I have the feeling, the flow that is within me. If you do anything creative, or you like crafting, or do anything with your hands, you probably know what the flow state is, however it's defined for you. I'm feeling it right now, and I haven't even started writing yet, and I usually get it before bed. That's how I usually put myself to sleep, is I write until I just which is probably why my eyes suck so much, because literally since middle school, I think I've put myself to sleep by writing, every single night, whether it was on Discord, whether it was on my notes app, whether it was whatever, and I'm feeling that now. I don't need to do it to fall asleep, it's just something that I do, but I've done it, I've fallen asleep plenty without doing it, but it's just my thing. But right now, I'm feeling in a flow state, not to do it to fall asleep, but just because I'm I want to write. And you know what? If you're able, like me, because I have to go into work tomorrow, but I don't have to go in until a little bit later, so I have some time to spare, then find your thing and go for it like that, just whenever you can. Obviously, if it gets to a point where it's negatively impacting your life, that's a different conversation. But little moments like this where you're just man, I really want to finish that sewing project, or actually, I want to finish reading this Wikipedia article before I go to bed. Chase those little moments and what you like doing, and that in itself is still... I'm getting so tired of saying all these words. over the same time. But, you know, hopefully that helps someone out there. For me, it's writing until I pass out. For now, though, I'm gonna go write. I'm gonna go be kind to my mind and just give in to the flow. A big part of what we've been talking about is just a lack of having resources or time to dedicate what we would like to these sorts of activities that would help us develop the aesthetic or the things alongside the aesthetic that we want to achieve, right? And that's more than valid, especially on days like we've seen where you gotta work. You know, you gotta work to live, you gotta work to survive, not necessarily thrive. I also want to talk about the routine that I said that I was talking about a little bit earlier, the structure. It ended up working pretty well, except for the fact that I didn't end up studying or reading in the library at all. I got a little caught up in the sale, and by the time that I was done with the sale, it was time for me to go to work, which is perfectly fine. It didn't work to the extent that I wanted it to, but it still worked, and it gave me enough to see the potential in continuing for that to be a future habit for me. And there's going to be trial and error along the way. Some things are going to fit more than others. Some things aren't going to fit at all. What is that? Bread. Part of the effort is part of the fun. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but just because it's a habit that works for everyone else does not mean that that you're broken if it doesn't work for you. It just means that you need a different way to go about achieving the end goal. And even if you get to do things like that, it doesn't necessarily always scratch the itch, especially if you want to try and find ways to make these things sort of an everyday practice for you or try and fit them in your everyday. It's obvious that going to work would take up a lot of time from you doing any of these things, but we need to talk about how the day after work, let's say you have a day off in the middle of the week. I have a bunch of friends who work in industries where they have their weekends off, but sometimes they also get a day off in the middle of the week. And for me, I'm freelance. So that means that I can have weeks where I have days off, several days off. And then there are weeks where I have no days off whatsoever. So let's talk about the guilt and the stress that comes with having days off and not doing anything, especially in regards to these things that you want to be doing. Bro, you gotta rest. You gotta rest. And I know you've heard that a lot, but my God, it's okay to rest. It's okay to not want to do anything. It's okay to just sit there and decompress on your couch. It's okay, especially the day after work, because you didn't have that time during that day, especially even if you were doing the habits like I did, where you made like a little routine for yourself in the morning or a little indulgence or whatever. You still have mental exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, all that kind of stuff. It's okay to not get anything done. You're not a worker bee. I can't cure your guilt. I don't think guilt is ever going to be cured in this capitalistic hellscape rendering that we live in, for not being productive all the time. But hopefully that helps someone out there. I think for some people, part of the guilt comes from, you're like, well, I obviously want to do these things so bad. So why, when I have a day off to do any of this stuff, I don't do any of it? Well, number one, because you probably need rest, which is totally fair and valid, and you should. Number two, we just need to go about finding a different way for you to work some of it in. My own case in point, I worked a really long shift at the venue yesterday. Now, I could have called it quits, because it was just odd jobs and stuff like that. I could have called it quits probably earlier in the day and went home and been more well-rested, but I had a job to do, and I was doing my job. I stayed to work. And now, even though I have a day off, I am tired, and I do kind of just want to sit around and read, which I mean would fit in part of the aesthetic, but not do any of the other stuff that I feel like I'm neglecting, that I'm also like, well, I have a day off, now I have time to do it, why aren't I doing it? Because for me, and probably for a lot of you, part of it also comes from the fact that you still also have responsibilities and things that need to get done. I know for a lot of my friends and for myself, the days off we get are not days off. They are simply days that we have to actually dedicate to the rest of our lives. So taking care of bills, calling doctors or calling insurance, getting the little things done that we don't get to do throughout the week. And we usually don't want to reserve for weekends because things are closed, or we actually want to try to relax on the weekends because that's when we've been conditioned that we need to relax. Stuff like that. It feels like this is still a work day to get things done. And if that works for you, that's totally great. We can work around that, and we'll talk about that in a second. But if that's not you, if you just feel like the day is just too much for you, that's okay. If you're of the latter, having a menu to choose from may do you a whole lot of good. Something that you can have for high energy and then low energy. You've probably heard this a lot with morning routines and stuff like that, especially for neurodivergence, and it's essentially the same thing. If you're feeling stuck, then having some low energy activities such as, say you want to color a page while listening to music or just having a TV show on in the background. Something that doesn't require a long-term dedication, more than an hour. And something maybe not even 30 minutes. Something that you can just say, yeah, I did that, and that's something that I wanted to do. And if you have high energy, obviously maybe the little tangent isn't for you. Go forth and conquer, my child. Don't conquer a child. What am I trying to say? Rome has fallen! But if you're like me, and one of those people where you typically use days like this to get other things in your life done, and maybe that's where you're feeling a little stuck, a little stucky-mucky, here's my ideas for you. Here's my ideas for me. Work things in around it and through it, not against it. I need to get some journaling done, not just like Dear Diary, but I have some actual planning I need to get done. I need to write down my invoices for my income. I need to write down some insurance stuff. I have some admin work to do in my life, send some emails, stuff like that. But I also want to be in the sun because I am a lizard and it's a really nice day. False fall is gone and it's the end of summer, and so I need to get outside. I need to socialize with the pups a little bit. Here's my solution. I can't take my laptop outside because it would overheat, and also I don't trust the dogs not to destroy it. What I can do, though, is I can take one of my ratty notebooks or whatever that I don't care if it gets a dog bite out of it, and I'm going to go out there, sit with the dogs, just take a chair, put it in the yard, and I'm going to sit there as the dogs play with me. I'm going to socialize with them, and I'm going to write down the stuff that I need to do, and I'm going to step by step what I need to do it. And also, I can already do some of it in the ratty journal, such as write down my invoices and stuff like that. Then when I get back in the house, I can just copy it over more neatly, more coherently, and get to the rest of the stuff. That way it's already streamlined because it's already done. Therefore, I'm conquering two things in one go. I'm also going to take one of my books I bought from the library out there, and I'm going to hopefully read it without the dogs destroying it. It's a little poetry book. You could also do this with an audiobook, with a novel, stuff like that. But there, I get another thing done. I wanted to finish a book today. I wanted to read some poetry and get some sun. I get some admin stuff done. That rhymed. Yay. Work with it and around it rather than against it. Now, this may mean that you have to minimize some of the activities you do. Like, for instance, I can't take my big books out there, and I like big books, and I cannot lie, out there with the dogs because I don't want them to get torn up. But my compromise, working with it instead of against it, is taking a book that I do want to read that can fit more in the situation that doesn't work against the grain and going out there and getting it done. And if you find yourself meeting with resistance for whatever reason, ask yourself why, and ask yourself what ideal conditions can change that. You want to go outside? You want to read? But you have some rowdy dogs? Okay, you can't take one of your special edition books. You can't take one of your big books. You don't even feel comfortable taking a physical book out there. Can you get an audiobook? Are you going to take your phone out there? But on a day that you need rest, don't make yourself work any harder than you have to. Yes, you may still have to get stuff done and be an adult, but you can also have fun along the way. And actually, hey, this is learning too. Because you're learning critical analysis, critical thinking, thinking around the problem instead of just hammering it home. Alright, that's enough for me. Sprints are almost over, so I'm going to chill in here for the next few minutes because I'm leading sprints on Jan's server. And then I'm going to go outside and read my book and do some admin work. I'll let you know how it goes. Hello friends, I just completely refilmed my intro after I finished that last clip that you just saw because I realized that I said the intro to this in a much more smarticle, much more efficient way. But isn't that just shay? Right now, I'm sitting outside while the dogs are napping in the basement. I keep looking behind me because I don't trust a hoe. Once again, I am doubling up. I'm coming out here in the sun. I'm doing some admin work, and I'm going to be reading because I have cast, which is due back at the library tomorrow. Really, it's due Friday, but I'm not going to town Friday. I'm going to town tomorrow, so I need to turn it in tomorrow. It's over 500 pages, and I'm on page 21. So I think if I can get within 100 pages of finishing it tonight, I can finish it in the morning because I go to work in the afternoon, and I can just drop it off then. I think that'll be good. I think that's much more doable. 400 pages is much more doable for me today. But I do have some work to get done. I do have some videos, some vlogs to film, as I'm doing right now. I do have some outlining I need to do. So I'm trying to work against my brain gremlins to what I can, rather than guilting myself in that I'm not doing enough of the thing that I also want to be doing. Because we do have responsibilities. But I am already making myself feel accomplished, because I know I'm coming out here, I'm getting sunshine, I'm getting my vitamin D, I'm getting fresh air, which gotta count as a win. And I've got my notebooks here so that I can do admin stuff and just write or doodle or do whatever. Making accessible, taking down barriers, and then I have the book right here next to me so that I can grab it at any time, or I can put it away at any time. Tonight, I'm mainly going to focus on videos. I probably won't have time for much academic stuff, and that's okay, because I need to get some work done. That way I can have some free time. But that is why I'm doubling up doing stuff out here right now.
Something that I forgot to mention, that I think that I forgot to mention, is I did finish my 24-hour readathon. 24-hour readathons, or niche little goals like that, are a great way to just hyper-focus and also attune it to you. Sometimes little things like that, little challenges against your nature, are one of the only ways to motivate yourself. Or, you know, that novelty of it. I don't think this is the extensive list. I'd have to look back through the clips and through my Goodreads, but immediately, this is what I have sitting on my table of just physical books that I know I finished during the 24-hour readathon. Yeah. So I did the timer method. This was not just all one day. I did the timer method. So in 24 hours of reading, I know that I at least finished all of these. Got a lot off my reading list, got a lot off my physical TBR, because only one of these is a library book. The rest of these are my owned books. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books off of my physical TBR. So having a little competition with yourself may be the way to go. Maybe it's trying to finish a coloring book in an afternoon. Maybe it's annotating a chapter in a book you like. Maybe it's finishing a whole big long Wikipedia article. Who knows? Let your mind run wild, child. I've been having trouble with deciding how to end this video, since it's really not a traditionally structured video with a typical end. And so I have found that moment. Not necessarily today, but this week. Tonight, I will be going to my parents' house, because Thursday, I'm leaving to go to Alabama for 2 of my friends who are getting married, and I am going to be a bridesmaid because they fought over me, and she won to have me in the bridal party. Today, what we have on the docket, it is Monday, and so we are going to do again the routine that I did last week. I'm gonna go to town. I'm having my breakfast right now, homemade sausage and biscuit drink, and I'm gonna go to town. I'm gonna get some coffee. I'm going to pick up a little treat at the bookstore, and then I'm going to go to my library, go to the student book club sale, mill around for a little bit, and then I'm gonna go to work. Welcome to the next day. If you're wondering why, it's because I didn't end up doing anything yesterday besides going to work and getting stuff from work, and then coming home, and then dealing with the dogs, and working on stuff. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about that, because we are, even if we try to plan ahead, a lot of times, life just has a funny way of looking at it and being like, that's cute. And there's no reason to feel guilty about not getting any of this stuff done that you wanted to do. Sometimes we just have to alter our own expectations in the moment. And you know what? As long as you're doing your best every time, Brennan Lee Mulligan is coming out through me spiritually, and know that your best changes every day. Your best changes hour to hour, especially if you're neurodivergent and your spoons are just bleh. That's okay. For me, I didn't really get home and get settled till about 4 or 5 o'clock. And then by that time, it's time to start thinking about dinner. It's time to start thinking about when to get into bed. It's time to start putting the dogs down to bed. Time for start getting them settled. There's a lot of moving pieces that all of a sudden came into play that I didn't think would be coming into play that influentially
that day because I thought I would have more time beforehand because I thought I would get home earlier, and things just changed, and so I had to alter. I took a few minutes, I sat down, I looked at myself, and I said, okay, what am I going to prioritize doing this afternoon? Even if I don't get to do the extemporaneous stuff of reading Hemingway or working on an essay or making a collage or something like that, what can I do that would make myself feel better at the end of the day? And for me, that was starting to work on editing a video, because that needs to be done, and reading a little bit. And so I read a chapter in one of my romance books. I know, not the most academic, but it's none of your business. And I edited a good portion of the video. I think I got about 20 minutes in. I did get something yesterday. I did treat myself, if I do say so myself. Yeah, I got the new double feature of Stephen Graham Jones. I've been having fun while watching everybody read this, and so I thought I would get this before I go to Alabama. That way I can read Killer on the Road while I'm on the road to Alabama. I'm clever, I know. Today, I'm gonna go to work. I gotta finish up some tasks, and I'm hoping to run some errands while I'm in town to justify going to town like I am. Then I'm going to come home. I hope to have enough time to work out. And then I'm really in a reading mood. That's really, really, really what I want to do. Because I have this giant stack of books sitting here. Gonna edit for a little bit. I'll need a shower. But then I'll edit and make sure the dogs are all settled. And read. Maybe read till supper. Make sure the dogs are settled. And then edit for a little while. But considering I've been falling asleep, see, this is the thing, you have to constantly readjust and reassess. But the main priorities I want to do today, I want to get that vlog roughly done, and then I want to finish 2 books tonight. I don't know, that's just like the main thing that I want to do. Sometimes you're just in a mood to do one thing. You think that you're in a mood to do all these other things, and then sometimes one just stands out more than the other, and you're not neglecting your hobbies, you're not neglecting your other interests just because something catches your interest more on a certain day or a certain week or a certain month. Sometimes it's because your brain just needs a break from that other stuff. For me, I typically write every day, something every day. But then there are some days where I'm just like, I can tell it's garbage coming out, that it's just like words. And that's okay. Sometimes my brain is, I think of it as rebooting or buffering. I don't really get writer's block. I just get writer's grok because it's garbage. And I can tell it's bad, but I have learned to give myself grace even when approaching all of those skills, all of those hobbies, that sometimes you're just going to be bad. It's like sometimes when you work out, or sometimes you just have an off day. And instead of looking at that as a defect of character or as a defect of skill, I look at it more as just, hey, something is going on here. My body or whatever knows me better than I do. Sometimes we just need a break. Sometimes that part of the brain or whatever just needs to shut off, reboot, rebuffer. We just need to work through it. And being hard on ourselves is not going to make it any easier most of the time. So don't be mean to yourself if you have to put off your hobbies for a little bit, or your skills, or your passion projects, or whatever it is. Being stuck is just rebooting, okay? Being stuck in buffering is just rebooting. It's not going to be forever. It's not going to be forever. Sometimes you just got to back the car up, look in your rearview mirrors, and then put it in drive again. Okay? Okay. I felt kind of inspired. So while I'm sitting here waiting for laundry to get done, I grabbed some paper, just some scrap paper we had laying around, and I'm going to sit here and write. I feel like writing. I feel like drafting. I don't know what exactly yet, but that's why it says scraps. Because it may turn into something, may turn into nothing. I'm just letting my brain do whatever. Like I said, maybe my brain is on buffering mode with writing. Maybe it's not. We'll see. I just feel like writing, and so I'm going to make it work. And now it's lunchtime, and then I'm going to have to work out soon, and then I'm going to go home to my parents. That way that we can leave for Alabama tomorrow, because I'm in a wedding, as I've said, I think. But right now, while I'm eating lunch, and I already imported the footage for this vlog, and so far it's 5.5 hours. A lot of that is B-roll, which I'm going to cut out and cut down, so I'm not too worried about it. Right now, though, I am going to have some time while I'm eating lunch, and instead of watching videos and stuff, I think what I'm going to do is use my critical thinking brain, and I'm going to write some reviews of books that I've recently finished. So I think I'm going to go do that while I just eat some lunch, then probably go outside for some sunshine time. Then I'm going to do a mini workout, and then I'm going to head home.
This was such a ride of an experience. It was something that I was planning on doing for the longest time. I'm so glad I finally did it, despite all the reservations I had about how I was going to structure it and how I was going to do it and how it was going to turn out. Because honestly, I still feel some of that. Like, I see how long this video is, and I feel a little less bad because I know that hour-plus long vlogs are now sort of becoming the norm, so like 2 isn't insane. But this is an instance where it's one of those things that you just gotta go ahead and do it. Even if you're afraid, even if you're nervous, you just gotta go on and do it. Especially because I did have such a fun time filming this. It was a fun way to be me, like my natural self, in a thematic way, or at least to focus on those parts of myself more that I have always loved, but really actually got to embody with a focus on them. It was fun finding new ways in my days to try and incorporate the things that I have either always wanted to do or have done but wanted to do more of. It really was. And it was also a challenge, but in a fun way. And I hope that you felt that too. Pause rant, I need to tell you about this. So, when we were on our road trip to Alabama, I decided the best thing to actually read on the short road trip was Stephen Graham Jones' Killer on the Road. Perfect, right? And by page 4, this was my reaction. The thing I didn't want to do was make it too pre-planned. I had some ideas, of course, but I didn't want it to be a stagnant, structured thing, because as I said over and over, that's not real life. And I was like, if I'm going to show people this, it's gonna be just how I live my life. And of course, I can't take you around 24 hours and show you what living my life is actually like. I wanted to show a realistic depiction of this in action, and I think that I did that. Even if it's not as satisfying as a jam-packed action vlog could be, sometimes life isn't satisfying, y'all. It is what it is. I would rather be authentic, messy, and happy than prepackaged, pre-planned, and bland. I had to learn a lot about myself along the way, how to fit things in, how to conquer over others, and just how to really circumnavigate my ADHD to make it work with me instead of against me for these things that I want to work into my life with this aesthetic, be it aesthetic or just real. And I hope this helped. I hope seeing a messy but real depiction helped you realize that if you want to do this, you can do it too in your own way, which is awesome because it's only going to be your way. No one else's way is going to be like yours, and that's pretty sick, bro. So in conclusion, I hope you're well, I hope you're always learning, I hope you're always growing, but more than that, I hope that you challenge yourself in a way that makes you grow, and most importantly, makes you happy, because sometimes you gotta do the scary things to get to the further happy things, and you can do it. You can do the scary things, even if it doesn't turn out quite the way you planned. You can still do it, and that's pretty awesome. Don't worry, I do have some more actually intricate videos coming up, some scripted, funny, planned videos that I'm really, really excited about and really excited for you to see, and I hope you stick around to see them. So if you liked my, serious kind of commentary video like the one before this, or you like this vlog, or you're just curious to whatever the hell I'm gonna get up to next, hit that subscribe button down below. Would love to have you, love to see you around. But for now, thank you everybody so much for watching. And if you ain't heard from anyone else today, I love you. Love and peace. Bye!